cut across the guy's parking lot. And you cross. That way they're expected to go in.
Why not?
Oh, boy, let's go. Let's go.
Let the games begin.
It's about the size of
All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a planning board meeting, July 28th, 2019. This meeting is being recorded by Chelmsford Telemedia, and Colleen Stanfield's here taking notes. And I guess that's about it. First thing, no meeting minutes, so we can get right by that.
Let the record reflect, I'm going to step out on the next.
All right, and we have a letter here to read, which I just took and filed so gracefully. Letter says, "Hi, Colleen. All right, we'll try that all over again. Hi, Colleen. Sorry, I thought I did respond. Guess I didn't. That being said, I have a conflict tonight and will not be able to be at the meeting. Sorry for not responding earlier. Thanks, Jack." So I guess continuous. Oh, I know that nobody here has a problem.
We got a vote on that already?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move to continue 191, 195 Princeton Street to our next regularly scheduled.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's done. George can come back. All right, the next is 205 North Road.
We have a letter from Loop Real Estate Corp. Due to time constraints, we are requesting a change of meeting date at
That's
the
the
time.
next one. This one's the actual decision.
Oops, sorry,
It's okay.
my bad.
Okay.
And I've kind of read through it. I did see there was some stuff. I'm looking at the land bank parking spots. I don't know if that was quite how you had it worded, George.
Yeah. You want some 12-month
Second
review or
page.
something?
Yeah, I think that's what we said.
No.
Land bank and review in a year.
Yeah, and then the question is who reviews it?
Is that under E?
Well, yeah.
We do.
I thought that they said that they were gonna review it in a year and then come back to us, but that,
I think what we asked for was that they submit a plan showing the spaces along that where they said they could get additional spaces, submit that, and then we would review that in a year if they needed additional parking.
okay.
That's right.
Who's gonna review it, though?
Planning board would review.
Okay.
Is that a review only if they need it, or just a review?
No, it should be
to see
a
if
review,
they-
a review period.
Okay.
You want them to come in, George, or?
I think that's something that the building inspector would say, send a note to us that if there's additional
Okay.
parking needed, that we would review it and he can review his notes
Okay.
at that time. I mean, we all drive by there, and if we see the
Yeah.
parking spilling out in
Yeah.
the street,
Yeah. Well, no,
we
right.
can request that
Yeah.
real quick. So,
The vote on the decision was recorded wrong? That's 75?
$75 to nothing.
pretty big board.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it.
Well, the only other comment I had, I submitted to Evan, and I think he responded back to me, was note that they have to submit the as-built plans that weren't submitted before and go through that whole process, which was in the letters from DPW, so
So the standard.
just want to make sure that that's clear in here. I didn't quite see that, did you? Oh, right there, compliance with DPW, number 2 on special. Okay, I guess I'm okay then.
Motion to approve
Under-
as amended.
Question, under special, it says detailed lighting plans shall be submitted. Have they been, and has there been any review of the light levels for the neighborhood?
Yeah, they actually had lighting on the plan when they took and brought it in here and we were going over it. They had all the light poles and everything in the
So what's the significance of B?
I think they only showed location of poles. I don't think they spec'd out.
Yeah.
The type of light, okay.
I'll entertain a motion to accept as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Twelve Kidder Road, I think that's being,
Now I'll read that letter.
you now read that letter?
So we have a letter from Loop Real Estate. Due to time constraints, we are requesting a change of meeting date at the Chelmsford Planning Board, the next scheduled meeting, August 10th, 2016. Please email confirmation of allowance. If you have any questions, please call. Thank you. Very truly yours, John Bikini. Letters dated July 18th, 2016.
Moving right through 'em.
All right.
So I'll move to continue 12 Kidder Road without testimony to our August 10th, 2016 meeting.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next is 11 Vinyl Square.
And Philip told us he might be a little bit late, so if there's some other business we can take up in the meantime. Are you ready, or do you want to wait for Philip?
Philip's on his way, but maybe we could open up public hearing.
Yeah.
If you want, sure. Any public members that would like to take and speak on this?
Oh, there's letters.
Letters, wait a minute, sorry.
So there's letters, and I don't know if you want us, we're going to read the letters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if you want your attorney to hear these, or,
Call him real quick. It's up to you.
I would think we got a couple of things we can probably.
Well, you know, we could always do the,
129.
We have some
we could do 129, we could do the
ZBA things.
GBAs.
Is that what I see?
You can do a couple, there's a lot in there.
Yeah, so why don't we try to knock off a couple of ZBAs and wait for your attorney and be complete, so.
Thanks.
Also be a good one. 74 Concord Road. I'll murder this word, this name.
Okay, Sfilio.
El Kisfilo. Special permit under 191-6.1 for pre-existing non-conforming accessory apartment in a pre-existing non-conforming structure.
Okay. looks like, a little faint box back here, it looks like.
This is Concord Road,
Yeah.
74 Concord Road.
Well, looks like they're putting an accessory apartment back here. Is that back right corner?
It's been there. The gentleman that's applying for the permit just purchased it, and during the purchase, they realized it was not permitted, so he's correcting that just by permitting it.
I don't have
There's
any.
really
Let 'em
no
have it.
changes
No
happening.
problem.
Yeah, there was a building permit, certificate of occupancy back in '99. Yeah, it's not
It's
creating any more non-conformities than it's already there,
It's
so.
already there.
No concerns?
All right, subject, 377 Littleton Road, Margaret E. Clare, under 995-6-1, a non-conforming previous approved special permit to add a name to the special permit for limited accessory apartment.
There's a little more description.
Yeah,
To whom it may concern.
On this one, it was estate value. The accessory apartment and the permit already exist. What he's doing is adding his mother's name to it, just
For estate purposes.
because the lawyer asked him to,
Yeah.
just keep everything clear. And frankly, Evan felt he doesn't need to come here, but his lawyer wanted it on the paper. So that's really all they're asking for.
No concerns.
No concern.
Concerns.
That's my paper clip. That's the next one.
15 Main Street, North Chelmsford. BSM Mango Home Builders LLC. Special permit under 195-8E to tear down an existing one-story, 612 square foot home and construct a new two-story, 1,728 square feet. Basement not included in-house will exceed the 10% rule for non-conforming structure. Lot line and setback frontage.
That's a tiny little lot.
Yeah.
Have they provided a lot plan?
Hold on, I'm looking.
How old is the existing structure?
Probably back in the 40s, they bet. I don't think that lot is 5,000 square feet.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
There it is. The existing dwelling is 4.7 feet from the property line and 8.5. They're gonna go to 10. And
So they're
at the narrowest point is 12.4. On this side, 21. Front's 40.
God, that's tiny.
That really is a tight lot.
Yeah, better
Yeah.
setbacks.
Yeah.
You're increasing the scale of that building significantly. That's
It's
gonna
getting
have
bigger,
a-
but you're getting less
Non-compliant.
However,
non-compliant.
Yeah,
It's
how the
centering it
scale
better
of
in the
building
lot.
is
I
changing so
Well,
don't
but it's
know.
becoming non-compliant on the other
Well,
side.
Right.
Yeah, but it was non-compliant before,
How
so.
big-
Well, it's
However,
becoming
how-
more
Yeah,
non-compliant
however,
on the
the
other
structure that
side.
was on there is significantly smaller. It
How
increased-
big is the original footprint?
660.
20.3 by 35.8. He's going to 36, which is the same, to 24. So he's only,
Well,
Only
4
going
inches.
3.5
he's
feet.
only going 4 foot wider. He's
However,
going
the-
up.
The
So-
height is gonna
The height's gonna be
create
different.
a feeling of extreme nonconformity with the small lot that was on there.
But there's big houses
How
all around.
close are the
that, too.
abutters?
There's no
No, it's not
pictures.
showing.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
Main Street, they're right there.
They're close. But everything around it is big like that, so.
It's two lots up on Main Street from the little variety store in the triangle. That's the next lot.
I personally don't have an issue with it. I think it's,
Yeah, it's kind of the best of a bad situation, you
you
know?
know,
Yeah.
612 square feet is an in-law apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smaller than an in-law
Yeah.
apartment.
Right.
If you think
You
about
know?
it, going up a second floor on that, they'd be at like
And all they're really
13
doing.
and a half or so.
So
Right.
wait a second, the new building, what's the,
The height's 28 feet.
Yeah, so they're not going up that
And that's
much.
to the peak. Our bylaw goes to the mean average. So I don't know what that slope is.
It's probably like a 7.
What's
Well,
the difference?
they're gonna
in
have to get a demo permit for this, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
If it's over 75.
Well, they have to get a
Well, they have
demo
to get a
permit
demo.
anyway?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so,
Question
and
is,
at that
do they
point, at
need
that
to go
point,
to
the age will be
historical
dealt
for
with?
it?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion for no concerns.
No concerns here.
No concerns.
Yeah. Too bad you couldn't add another 5,000 square feet to that lot. That's like in Somerville.
Yeah, but
this room is
over
bigger.
here in the Westlands,
Yeah.
a lot of the
A lot
lots
of
are
the lots are that
5,000,
size.
Yes.
5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So,
Some of the houses are bigger.
yeah. But I mean, in the Westlands, when you look at how the development was drawn up, it was all 5,000 square foot lots.
And then they combine 2 or 3 together
Yeah.
for bigger lots.
Okay.
All right, we got another one. 12 Alyssa Way. For variance under 195-93D for side yard setback in a planned open space development.
Who submitted that, the developer?
Yeah, I think so.
Riverneck?
EJH,
Yeah.
6268
Oh,
Riverneck.
okay,
Through Duchesne and Farrell, right?
yeah, okay. Email.
The as-built came in, I think, 7 inches off from what was proposed.
Yeah, the letter's here. The office represents
Is that what it is?
EJH.
He's,
Regarding the above referenced property enclosed, find a completed variance application for Lot 10, from the Kennedy Farms Development, also known as 12 Alyssa Way. After the commencement of construction, it was determined the foundation had been installed 7 inches from where it was shown on the approved plans. Although it was a very minor change given the unique layout, this lot, the error resulted in a setback of 11.2 feet where 12 feet is required under the Chelmsford Town Chelmsford requirements for structures in planned open space. Such a variance is requested to allow a side yard of 11.2 feet where 12 feet is required per town of Chelmsford zoning.
De minimis
No
non
concerns.
curat lex.
Put in the comments, some to buy a new tape measure.
Yeah.
Buy an American-made one.
change his contract. Did he pour his own foundations, you know?
No.
No, he has somebody else do it.
Bunch of them tonight.
Wow.
They're gonna be busy.
This is for 95 Lock Road. Sancho Lazare Jr.,
Santiago.
Santiago. Special permit under 195-8E for the construction of a new garage and addition to a non-conforming structure. Lot area and front setback will increase the gross square foot maximum of 30%, creating a new nonconformity on the side yard setback.
Right here, looks like there's an existing shed, and they're gonna put a porch in here and build, actually, that's a driveway here, so
19 feet off?
18.9 after the build the addition at the narrowest point.
And it's required to be 25?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's furthest point away from the abutting house,
Mm-hmm.
which has an encroachment on, looks like an
Yeah, it's
encroachment.
pretty
darn
there,
close.
so-
Eh,
But it's,
no problem.
no concerns?
No concerns.
You can see
paperclip on.
Oh, thank you. I feel a new sense of utility.
You know how to use those?
Yeah. Yeah, but picking the wax out of your ear.
103 Willis Drive, Thomas Scosley.
Oh, my.
Special permit to construct a new side deck and front balcony to a non-conforming structure. Structure, lot area, lot frontage will now increase non-conformity on setback
Oh, okay.
requirements.
So it's a lake cottage.
Yeah, across
Lake
the street
Cottage.
is-
They're all
Yeah,
tiny
they're all-
little
They're
lots.
tiny.
They're tiny
Yeah,
lots.
same thing.
So, the-
Right, so what is
that non-conformity is 6 feet there, which exists already. They're putting a deck here, which will create another, continue the 6 foot there, so it's
Not
no
getting any closer.
worse. It's no worse than what's there
No,
already. It's just they're going closer
It's
to the
just they're going
front.
awfully close to the road.
Well, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind of in
that
keeping
area.
with what you find up
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
it's
true.
consistent.
Yeah.
Since that is.
consistent with the
No
neighborhood?
concerns.
No concerns?
A whole bunch of them are actually on the road, just about.
Oh, yeah, there ain't much up
Some of
there.
them, you trip coming out the front door, you get run over.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
The way
it.
they were, is lake
That's it.
built. as
Newly
lake
paved.
cottages.
That's it.
All right,
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, wow, that was fun.
all right.
All right. Now, I guess we're ready to start 11 Vinyl Square. We got some letters to read.
A bunch of letters to read.
Bunch of letters.
This one is from, if I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize. Deepak Carrera, K-A-R-I-A, 16 Willoughby Way, Linfield, Mass. Chairman of Plan, I purchased 11 Vinyl Square, North Chelmsford, Mass. in 1999. At the time of the purchase, the building had 2 apartments and a retail store. The first apartment was a 5-bedroom with kitchen and bath on the second and third floor with its own separate entrance. The second unit was a 1-bedroom with kitchen and bath on the first floor behind the retail store with a separate entrance. Respectfully, Deepak Herrera. Next one is from Ruth Moynihan, 245 Main Street, West Chelmsford. Dear Mr. Piley and fellow members of the Planning Board, this is a letter in support of Joseph Ray's proposal to convert a large apartment over the store at the corner of Adams Street into 3 small units. In Chelmsford, we often hear of shortage of small rental units available to singles and newlyweds. Additionally, the space in question is in Vinyl Square and the bus line. Even today, there are people who do not have a car and must rely on the public transportation. If future residents did have cars, it is unlikely there would be more than 1 car per each small unit. As the residents would probably drive to work, those cars would only be parked during non-business hours. Historically, Vinyl Square has been a mixture of commercial and the residential with apartments located over the street-level businesses. I see nothing in Mr. Ray's proposal which is unusual for the site and hope you will approve this application. Sincerely, Ruth E. Monahan. I think that's it, right? That's it. I think that's all we need to read at this time.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name's Philip Iliopoulos. I'm an attorney here in Chelmsford with law offices at
Can I
9.
excuse you 1 second?
Yes.
Nancy, you should make a statement.
Yes, I did. What's the statement I need to make?
That you
I signed,
reviewed-
I reviewed this on video, and I signed the statement that I have done so. The Mullen statement.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
That's
Mr.
okay.
Chairman.
No, that's important. That's important information. We appreciate
important
that. I
information.
appreciate Nancy doing that. Mr. Chair, I've got a few comments to make. I know there's still, I'm assuming the board is going to take public input,
Yep.
since they
Let's
continue
let-
the public
we left it open,
hearing.
yep.
Rather than me go, then the public go, then me come back. Do you want to hear from the public has anything more to add, and then I can just finish and then leave it to the board to deliberate? Just so we
That's what you
know.
wish, that's fine.
Sounds good.
All right, I think that makes sense, and we'll see what the public has to say.
All right, now we start with the public again. Sorry about that. Anybody have anything to say, they can come up.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Gary Bevis, and I currently reside at 175 Willis Drive in North Chelmsford. And I currently own the building 35 feet away from the petitioner, which is the address of 2 Groton Road in North Chelmsford. Just going to put some things down if I may. The first thing I'd like to do is, I'd like to address the letter that was just read by Mr. Deepak. Tried to do as much homework as I could. If I may, I'm going to start out by passing out some of these things, so as I go over it, perhaps you could follow along, because it's a little bit,
Two I gotta read.
Thank you.
We've got one more letter to read when you get done, Bill.
Okay.
I'll try to brush through this as fast as I can. I think it's a lot to look at, but they're basically letters. Thank you. For people who actually.
Thanks.
Where did these letters come from?
I'll let you know. Oh, the first letter I'd like to address is, I went to the town, and I actually ended up getting this information. This is the tax record of everything, or at least a good 90% of what this entails with this building. And so on here, it says lists all the previous owners all the way back to 1992. I just heard you read a letter from a previous owner, and his name was Mr. Deepak. In his letter, if I read it correctly, it said when he bought the building. Well, actually, I'm not going to go into his letter. I have it here, actually. And there's just one statement in it that's very interesting. At the time of purchase, the building had 2 apartments and a retail store. On the second page of what I just gave you, is the person that he actually bought this building from. His name is Mr. Edward Kemp. And the letter states, I met Mr. Kemp yesterday. He's an older gentleman. He lives in Tewksbury. His address is on the second page. Sorry. And so is his phone number.
I want to know why these letters weren't directly addressed to the Chelmsford.
I just got them yesterday, sir.
Okay, well, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know where these letters came from, okay? And they should be addressed to the planning board and come to the planning board directly. So these aren't, to me, may not be authentic. So I don't know where these letters came from, and I question them.
So because I didn't bring them ahead of time?
No, normally they're
authentic?
mailed directly to the planning board or given directly to the planning board by the applicant. So these should have been mailed in.
So because I brought them to you, they're no good? I'm just asking.
I don't know the veracity of these letters.
And I gave you his address and his phone number to validate everything I say here.
We could ask Evan.
Well, I guess if I'd still like to read the letter, if I may. I met the man, he gave it to me. I will swear that under oath.
I don't have a problem with it, you can keep reading.
I'll read the letter. I, Edward Kemp, sold 11 Vinyl Square, North Chelmsford, to Korea Deepak on 3/23/1999. At that time, there was one apartment upstairs and a business on the first floor with a small office in the rear. There was no apartment on the first floor level at that time. So when Mr. Kemp sold this building to Mr. Deepak, there was no apartment on that floor. Now, the person who owned it before Mr. Kemp, back in 1993, I believe, his name is Mr. Vagaleras, and I have a letter from him. I met him yesterday. He lives in Ashby. I drove out there to meet him personally. Again, his address and phone number is on the letter on the first page of everything I handed you. His letter's tough to read. He's an older gentleman, and he shakes a lot, and these are his words. I, Richard Vigalitos, do state that as an owner of 11 Vinyl Square, North Chelmsford, Mass., the building had only one apartment on the second floor and third floor, and no apartment on the first floor. Those are his words. Now, those are the two previous owners to Mr. Deepak, who states that there was an apartment when he bought it, which there wasn't. Now, I can't say what happened with Mr. Deepak. Perhaps maybe he put an apartment in, doesn't want to admit it for some strange reason. I don't know. So what I did locate was, if you look at page number 3, it's the beginning of a real estate office who had listed at one time this property a few months back, or a few months prior to Mr. Reddy purchasing the property. On the first page of that, I highlighted an apartment upstairs that needs work. Everything on that they have is right here in this folder. On the second page, it says, the apartment upstairs needs work. At no time on any of this paperwork does it indicate a second apartment anywhere. Again, on the second page, it says residential, 1 unit. It says where retail, 1 unit. And on the bottom, it says total, 2 units. On the next page, it says, come by this dynamic retail location for $424.9. Former convenience store, great center of business location. There is a 2,000 square foot First Street level and a 1,983 square foot, 2-story residential apartment that needs work above. Come see where your business will fit. Again, and then there's another page that says the same thing. Nowhere on the listing, anywhere, does it say a second apartment. I'm going to say that if there was, they certainly would have put it in. 2 apartments is definitely worth more money than 1. I'm going to direct your attention to the following page after that. We all know what that letter says. It's a letter from Mr. Day. 35 years he's been in and out of that building as a Board of Health inspector, inspecting, because it was a variety store, he inspected all the food on monthly. He was in there numerous times, many times till he couldn't even count. And he told me personally, there was never, ever an apartment on that first floor. Now, the next page takes you to what I have here, which is a town record. I searched everywhere for somebody, anybody, that could tell me there was an apartment. I called the phone company, I called the gas company, I called the electric company. Nowhere could I talked to, his name is here, he's a postman, 22 years, his name is Greg McManamum. Never ever in 22 years has he ever delivered so much as 1 piece of mail to anywhere other than 11 Vinyl Square, which was the store, and 2 Shaw Street, which was the apartment upstairs on the 2nd floor. Again, Adam Street, I apologize. Again, the town has a record of all of it. Right here, the town states apartment, 50%, commercial, 50% residential. Again, 1 apartment, 1 store. Over here, same thing, residential, same thing, store, apartment, all the same thing. The code, 10101, states in the form, it is a single family. At no time does anything ever indicate here a 2-family. Again, here, 1 store, 1 apartment, Adams Variety Store. I'd like to go to the next page. We're almost done with this one. The next page is a letter. I'll read it, it's not too long. It says, Dear Planning Board members, I was the owner of 2 Groton Road in North Chelmsford from November 1996 until time I sold it to Gary A. Bevis a few years ago. My father had previously owned that property since 1966. That's 50 years. It used to be his medical practice for many years, at which time I would visit him frequently as a child and a young adult. During that time, the time I owned the property, there was never, at any time, an apartment on the first floor of that property located at the corner of Adams Street. Primarily, I sold the property to Gary because it was a chronic parking issue in Vinyl Square and it became impossible for me to manage. If you have any questions, please contact me. She'll be here tomorrow. That's her phone number. And the last letter I have, because this one is the most previous one. This is the one where, when it was being sold, somebody actually walked through it as it was being sold. This letter, this gentleman's here in the room. I'll just read, I'm not going to read the whole thing, it's lengthy. Dear board, greetings. It has been brought to my attention that the owners of the building on the corner of Vinyl Square and Adam Street has brought a request before the town to alter its use, that of a business with a 2-bedroom apartment on the second floor to that of a business with a 3 one-bedroom apartment on the second floor. It is the purpose of this letter to express my opposition in request for this change, for such a change. My reasons for this opposition are listed below. It was also brought to my attention that the current owner has claimed that there was once an apartment on the first floor in the rear of the store. That is not the case. When I was looking for real estate to locate our classroom and office, I looked at this property as a possible location. It was advertised for rent. During several visits to the property, we were shown the entire first floor. It consisted of a storefront, a large walk-in cooler, and an office area in the back. Beyond the office area was an additional room that could have been used for storage. The office area in the back may have been large enough for a second small room or an office reception area, but no apartment. He goes on. I'm not going to continue to read. It goes into traffic, and he's against this thing, and y'all can read it, I guess, in your spare time. And I certainly don't want to be here all night long. I think that will get you angry with me. But I think I'm going to use Mr. Eliopoulos' letter. I'm convinced that there's no apartment, never, ever has been. Never, ever has been an apartment on that first floor. Why a letter says so by the seller, I don't know. I guarantee you that every person that I came up and I showed you a letter from, I only know 2 of them, these 2 down here. I know Day, I don't know him personally. Town of Chelmsford Properties, Edward Kemp, Mr. All these previous owners I have never met before. They have no interest in lying in this building. I'm going to move on from that. We're done with that issue. There was no apartment, that's the way it goes. Now, I tried to figure out why he wanted to say there was such an apartment, but it kind of fit, 2 to 3 is a lot better than 1 to 3. I understand that. Now, he mentions, 6 bedrooms. There was 5. I'm going to concede to that because it's a fact. There was 5 bedrooms in that second apartment up there. But, he threatens that, he could lease that or rent that to college students or whatever. You know what? For a person who really cares for this town, I think he does. I don't think he should have threatened that. I certainly wouldn't. But in any event, if I may just look at some of my notes. I just want to say this one thing. Sometime down the road, I don't know, this is a planning board. I don't know what that means. To me, it means to plan for the future. That's what I feel. And if you're really planning for the future, you couldn't possibly think this was a good idea. But Mrs. Tremblay, she's here. I've known the woman for 40 years. She's sitting back there. She owns the hardware store. And eventually, something's going to happen to that store. I don't know what it is. She's a wonderful woman. She has offices up there. Somebody's going to buy that place. I got a feeling they're going to want it. If this ever happens, God forgive me, God, I hope it don't. But if it did, I guarantee you, they're going to be in the very same room. A couple of different faces, and they're going to want the same very thing. And when they do, that gentleman right there is going to change his seat.
Don't point your finger at people.
I apologize. I just want to let you know who it was. Mr. Reddy will be sitting, I won't point, back there with us, and he'll be against those apartments. Because at that time, he will realize why I'm here and how vigilant I am and why I am the way I am. Because parking is gold down there. No parking, no business. No business, reduction in how much our buildings are worth. And this is a catastrophe. But I just want to say one thing about the lease now, if I may. He shows a lease, the 10-month lease. I know he calls it a 1-year lease, but 2 months is already up, so it's really 10. I mean, it's like if you had a 20-year lease and 18 years was up, you'd only have 2. He's got a 10-month lease. He says it's, well, in the newspaper, he said it was 6. His lawyer said it was 5. We don't really know what it is. I say it's 4. But it doesn't really matter. That lease is worthless to me. It means nothing. and I went to a couple of boards. I went to 5 towns this week, and I said, gee, what would, in a case like this, what would this town do? They couldn't believe it. They said, you mean he doesn't own the property? No, he has a lease for 1 year. Yes. And they thought I was kidding. I said, no. They said, what would happen if you went bankrupt?
We
I
understand
don't know.
there's special interest in the center of town. It's tough. I mean, we know what we're dealing with.
Okay.
I understand. But
I,
we're just trying to get, if that's, we want facts and just.
I
keep
did,
moving on.
I'm just getting into the lease. It means nothing. To give somebody parking for 1 year, I can't imagine if somebody was to come in here and build a high-rise of 100 units, and they were leasing Market Basket next door for 1 year, and then after that, they had no parking. We wouldn't do such a thing. I don't think we would. If we did, we'd be nuts. But, and that's what we have in front of us. Look, I can see I'm starting to aggravate you, and that's the last thing I want to do, so,
We're just
I-
trying to get
you know what?
the facts out.
This is wrong. It's just wrong. There's no way in the world this could be a good thing. He has no parking, not one. And he's asked, well, is the parking, Mrs. Gregoire, I think, is the parking for your tenants or is it for your store? And he says, well, it's for both. So now he's got parking for his store employees, now he's got parking for his store we don't. I'll just show you one thing, and then I'm gonna sit down. I can just, and I know you know. I just want to bring up one more thing. They talked about parking at Rosie's. It's not gonna happen. This lot, Rosie's lot, that's a privately owned lot. Here's the big sign, and it says, it's right there, parking for Village Grooming, Tiffany's, Christian's, Rosie's, so it's all here. They're not gonna park there. They lease that, they pay for that. And they will be towed. And here's a sign, it says, park there, customer parking only, you'll be towed. They pay, all these companies pay for this spot. Out of the question. But what do we face every day? That's what we face every day. That's in front of my building. Every day. Can't find a spot. And if you do, well, this guy didn't. This is across the street from me. This is a 9-unit building. He couldn't find a spot. He went into the auto school that the guy rents from me. So he just parks right there. Nobody cares. There's a fight every single day. To make this even worse, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Thank you all for listening.
We have another letter.
There's one more letter we found in the file. Dear members of the Chelmsford Planning Board, I've operated my business in Drum Hill for the last 15 years, and I would love to rent a 1-bedroom apartment in Vinyl Square. If you'd support Mr. Reddy's proposal, it would help achieve the goal. I would probably be using the parking spot from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Thank you for your consideration, Audrey Wilson.
Anybody else from the public?
Louise Quinn Tremblay, Vinyl Square, North Chelmsford. I just want to make one comment to George when he questioned the letter from Eddie Kemp. As you know, I've been in Vinyl Square a long time, like 70 years, and I've been friends with a lot of the people that have owned the variety store, especially the Kemps. So when I had enough help working the hardware store, I'd go sit over there, have coffee, and do whatever be it. And the Kemps were wonderful people. They kept the store going for a long time. And I would visit in the back room. And like the letter that Eddie wrote states, there was an office back there that we would sit. As long as I've hung around Vinyl Square and visited those stores, I've never seen an apartment in the back of the store. I mean, that's what he bought the building for, is to open the liquor store, and it was never mentioned the apartments at that time. And again, I'm not sharing my parking on the street with residential people and lose business. I mean, Vinyl Square is slow as it is, and it's a pass-through community. I need my 30-minute parking signs to remain there. So I just want to add to the comment that at least Eddie's letter and the other one before it, those letters were true.
I just want to clarify my point. My point is...
I understand that it needed to be written to you people.
It needed to be to us
Right.
through the office, not from a third party, because when you get things from a third party, it's not right.
Right.
You can mail it, email it, hand deliver it, and it goes right to community development, it gets clocked in, and it gets distributed to each and every one of us.
And you know, George, that I know those are the
I know
rules.
you
Because,
since I was this high, so...
and I know the rules because I'm on 4 town boards as it is, and I know how the document should, go through the procedures. I just want to verify that I know them personally on it. I just didn't want anything to go astray. Thanks a lot,
Thanks,
though.
Louise.
All right. And I appreciate the board and all the time they've put into this review. Thanks.
Anybody else from the public?
How we doing? My name is Mark Kittner. I'm the tenant that I guess isn't important at 6 Adams. I also want to make it perfectly clear, I also am the contractor for Mr. Reddy. One has nothing to do with the other. What I can testify to, pretty simple, I walked through that building. I've been in the business for 40 years, and you have to ask yourself, well, what constitutes an apartment? When I walked in downstairs, it had a separate entrance, 2 of them, a back and a front. It also had a bathroom with a shower, which I think was referred to as an extra room. It also had a bathroom for the store side. It had a sink and a kitchenette area. These were all documented by the architect. So if it's an apartment, if it isn't an apartment, I don't know what you would call it. A room with a shower. I don't know what to say, I really don't. So that being said, as far as factual is concerned, there was 5 bedrooms upstairs and 2 bedrooms downstairs. That's all I can testify to. The second thing I'd like to testify to is I signed a lease for 6 Adams Street. I had actually was in negotiations before Mr. Reddy contracted with me. Property Solutions was in that building. They bought a house up in Pelham, and they were moving their business up there. I needed a place to locate my business because my business is in Salem, New Hampshire, and my building was sold. So I was kind of in a jam. So it worked out well. I actually wanted to buy the building, at which point I was informed that at today's date, the owner was not interested. We came to an agreement. I paid him monies. When I talked with Mr. Reddy about doing his construction work, he asked me about parking. I have 1 vehicle. I don't need the parking lot. I need storage. I need a place to put my computer, and that's it. The law says I have to have a bathroom, so we'll go with that. Other than that, I don't need anything else. So Mr. Reddy had posed to me, would I be interested in leasing the space? I said absolutely. And the reason this all got started is I needed to know if I could put a dumpster there, because according to the board, I can't put a dumpster on the street. The building department, which is fine. So I got permission and was able to do that. So this has been an ongoing agreement. I wanted to lease the building for 5 years. The owner said, let's do year increments. And the reason being is because I really want to buy it. At this point, he's not interested in selling it. I have no problem giving Mr. Reddy a lease, which I did, on the parking, and I will continue to do so for as long as I'm in that building. And frankly, I don't plan on moving again, not for a long time, because I got another 10 years and I'm retiring anyways. So that being said, I don't want to do this again. This has been a difficult transition. As far as the parking's concerned, I've had as many as 12 guys working there. All my guys parked in the public parking. They used the crosswalk to get to work, and none of them were ever late. All right? But I also made a point to find out why we were having parking issues in front of the building. Well, it was simple. You get a delivery van servicing the restaurant next door. not a problem. But there were a couple cars in particular that kept parking there. And I was concerned during the demolition portion of the project that maybe we could, ask them to park their car. We actually gave them permission to park in our parking lot, because they said that the parking lot next door was too full. Well, I know why. Each one of those units, which there are 4, have 2 assigned parking spots. The driving school has 3 commercial vehicles parked in those parking spots. So they kind of take away from the employees working there, and they're parked there all the time. The other part is, from what I understand of the regulation, Groton Road in front of that building has 1 hour parking, not all day parking. But there are cars parked there all day. Okay, in addition to that, when the 20 kids get out of the school, and we have documented photos of people going the wrong way on the one-way, parking in the middle of the street, parallel parking, blocking driveways. And, I've only been there 12 weeks. But that's a pretty good sample of what happens there day in and day out. And I've given the photos to Mr. Reddy. I do it because I have to look at this from a liability standpoint. Someone runs into one of my trucks, someone runs into one of my delivery trucks, someone gets hurt. My fear is one of those kids comes out of that driving school and gets out on Groton Road when they're blowing the horn or the ambulance is going through or the police are going through. It's all over. So you have a 5-bedroom apartment, you're going to have kids. And I wouldn't want to be responsible for someone walking out in that street and getting hurt. There's no yard, it's 0 clearance yard. There's nothing there. So I think the proposal's a smart proposal, especially when it comes to planning, because you'll never have to worry about kids. You'll never have to worry about multiple cars. We're talking about off-time parking. The average person I know that rents an apartment usually works, which means from 7 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, if they're like the rest of us, they're stuck in traffic or at their office. And then at that point, they have all the parking they want, because at 6 o'clock, there isn't a problem with a parking spot there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Is there any other members of the public that'd like to speak? Nope, got a traffic jam.
How you doing? My name is Ron Vincent. I live at 9 Chesapeake Road, Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm the president and one of the owners of Future Drivers of America, the driving school that theoretically has 3 cars parked in a lot all the time, which means nobody's ever driving them, right? There is a parking problem in that area. I came through there on my way here tonight. There was no place on Groton Road in front of the building that I rent. There was a couple places in front of Benito's Subs, which I'm sure if they're open, they're glad that they're open. There were the spaces on Adams Street that are theoretically near the corner that were once upon a time, there was a sign on that building that said, parking for Taza Market. They did come and talk to us about putting cars in their lot. It was probably a good idea since we didn't want to get them damaged by the demolition, and we were trying to be decent neighbors and allowing them to go in and out of 2 Adams Street to do the work. That's not a normal thing. Now, today my car was parked there, and I think you can verify that it was there in front of the building because that's where I had to park. Do kids come and go? Yeah, it's a driving school. The town knew that when I rented the space. They gave me the permits. It's a temporary thing. During the summertime, there are classes that go from 8:30 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. None of the kids in the class have licenses because that's why they're there. Do their parents drop them off? Yes. Do they pick them up at 3 o'clock? Yes. It's a nightmare. Understood. A lot of them will park down along the left side of Adams Street. A lot of them will park illegally on the right side of Adams Street. As far as people going the one way down the road, I tell people constantly that it's a one-way street. It's not just driver's ed kids and their parents that are going the wrong way down that road. That problem's not going to go away. Okay? The addition of 3 one-bedroom apartments, although everybody says they're not going to have kids and they're not going to have multiple cars, by default, I can tell you that when I was 17 or 18 years old and I rented a 2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom apartment, I had parties. I had kids over. I had friends. Where are they going to park? Are you suggesting that we're gonna rent this only to people who don't have cars? Now, the previous tenants in that building were all the chefs and the cooks at the Chinese restaurant across the street. It worked out great. I don't even think they had one car. Problem was solved. Now you have a problem because you have an empty building. You don't know what to do with it. It's a very large building. I mean, I looked at that building. It was too large for what I wanted to do. I'm the one that wrote that letter at the back. I don't know what you've heard here tonight, but I'm telling you that there was no apartment in the back. There was only one bathroom on the first floor. It was not handicap accessible. And there's no way I could have used it for my school. That's why I didn't rent it. I've been where I am now for a little bit over 3 years. It was in July of 2013 that we signed the lease. I'm very happy there. I try to blend into the community. I try not to aggravate people. I talk to people about the business in the parking situations, and they understand for the most part, it's a very short-term drop-off or pickup of kids. Okay? That's all I have to say. I don't have any other dog in this little race to grind anywhere. I love being where I am. It's going to stay where I am. I have absolutely no plans on moving. I just know that adding 3 more cars or 6 more cars to a community that's already overstuffed is going to cause a problem. I'm guessing that the goal of the Village Square craft beer business is to also attract business. I'm going to guess it's not walk-in business, which means they're going to park somewhere. If the tenants are parking there, even if they're there from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., I'm guessing that most of the business in the craft beer business is after work. It's not at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's all I have to say. If you need me, my telephone number's on the paper. Feel free to call me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. John Goffin, 19 Kathy Road, Chelmsford, Mass. 25 years, 27 and 28 years a resident. Know the Reddys well. I work for Reddy Real Estate, and I'm not here to promote them. I'm here to make some points. I also drive for a car service, and I have 7 days a week for well over 8 years. I go all over the state. I go all over to New York City. I go all over the place. Parking is an issue everywhere. You make Mr. Reddy conform to anything other than the plan, and I'm not supporting the plan, I'm just saying, anything other than the plan, it's not going to change parking. Because any one of these businesses are going to get increased business from that store opening, and they're going to have additional parking at their business. So does Mr. Reddy now have the right to say you're taking my spots as well? I've listened to this whole thing as an outsider because I work for Reddy Real Estate. I hear things. I hear from the comments that are made from around town, from the residents, and it's ridiculous. You're trying to promote business in Chelmsford. You're trying to get people to come to Vinyl Square. You're trying to look at 54 units coming into Chelmsford Center. Where's the traffic gonna go now? There's already a mess out here. So 6 cars because you want to change a gas meter is going to create a major traffic problem for these people who've been in Chelmsford for
Please
a lot
direct
longer
your
than I
comments
have.
to the board.
Well, I am. I'm just saying, pointing to everyone who's here and trying to support
do
the
that.
project in either way. It doesn't make sense. So for a gas meter, all right. On the commercial side of it, it's only going to bring in more business. This town needs more business. We don't need more affordable housing, but we do need more single units. Because of my other hat, I'm a real estate agent. I sell commercial property, I lease commercial property and apartments. And I do several apartments. And I can tell you that there's several units in Vinyl Square all the way through this town that have 1-bedroom apartments. People don't have cars. Well, some might have 1 or 2. And they're not bringing in several kids into 1-bedroom apartments. What they're bringing into 2-bedroom apartments, they're bringing in 4 to 6 people. I see it every day. And that's not, I don't have a letter to make facts. That's just the way it is. And I think that these points are what you should be looking at. I don't think you're not going to change the parking. You're not going to fix the parking up there. Mr. Reddy has gone out and got extra spaces for the neighborhood to help out. I mean, that's what we have to consider. What are you bringing to the table besides discontent? He's trying to bring a future to Vinyl Square. The Chinese restaurant's gone in Vinyl Square, isn't it? Okay. I think you have 3 or 4 restaurants there already. Something has to complement that. Okay? A variety store is not the place. The variety store is going to bring in more traffic than the proposed business that's going in there. So you think you have traffic problems now? Throw something else in there. Forget about the apartments. That's all I have to say.
Is there anybody else from the public that'd like to speak?
Sir, where you been? I've had a variety store in Vinyl Square for 10 years.
Excuse me, it has to be directed to the end. Please
Okay.
state your name and where you're from.
Apparently, I own Village Variety. I don't have a parking problem because of the signage. The problem I have is it's a drive-through town. They don't want to stop because of stop sign at Dunstall Road, stop sign at Route 40. It's just an absolute traffic mess. You know, I get my customers early in the morning or just before closing. And, you know, but for anybody to say in a variety store, we add more traffic, I wish it did. Believe me, it doesn't. That's all I have to say.
What was your name, sir?
John Lido. John Lido.
Is there anybody else from the public?
Karen Bevis, 175 Willis Drive. I own 2 Groton Road with my husband Gary. I just have a couple of things to say. We know the liquor store is going in there. We're not talking about traffic for the liquor store. Today, we're talking about apartments going from 1 single-family apartment to 3, right? So we know the liquor store is there. It's not traffic, it's not parking for that, it's for these apartments. But I think we need to look at, the evidence that we're not lawyers. My husband's not a lawyer. I wish he was, but he's not. So for us to we didn't know we had to bring those letters ahead of time, so I apologize for that. But I don't want you to disregard them in any way, because it's important. It states what we're dealing with Mr. Reddy. I think you are being misled. I know I have been misled. You are being misled. We all are being misled. That lease was taken up because of the dumpster. It wasn't to give parking. It was for the dumpster because he had to. So you're being misled. So please, read the documents, and if you need more from us, we'll be glad to get it to you. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Mr. Eliopoulos. Oh, wait a minute, sorry, got another one.
I'll try to be quick. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary's twin brother, Kevin. I understand that there was a policy that letters should be delivered to the board and stuff. I would hope that the board, however, would weigh facts over policy in this case. She's right, his wife is right. He's not a lawyer. He's my brother. I heard somebody say something about the Chinese restaurant earlier. They're right, it's no longer in business. That is a fast food Chinese restaurant. Nobody could park. They left. Lowell 5 used to be across the street when I was a kid. Lowell 5 is no longer there. They moved up the street in a beautiful building where they now have parking. These businesses have left because of the parking. That building was offered to me. I said no. Parking was always a problem. My sister put a camera at the top of the building. You can still see it today. It still exists. Pointing down at their parking lot to prevent people from parking there so that he can have it for his businesses. I went with Gary yesterday to get that letter. So he's very passionate. God knows why. I've actually wanted him to sell this building for 15 years. It's a long time.
I'm gonna get a little emotional too, just like he might have, but I'm not gonna get angry, I'm gonna just get emotional. We grew up together. I'll be quick. Went to high school together, joined the Army together. He was stationed with me together. First house we lived in, he was next door. First house we bought, Myrtle Street, we bought it together. Lived on Mallory Street, he lived next door. Lived on Martin Street, he lived next door. Moved to North Chelmsford. He lived next door. 15 years ago, I went to New Hampshire. He bought that place with me. 2 weeks later, I said, Kevin, it's not the place for me. He bought the place on Willis Drive, on the water, just like I'm at. We wear the same shirts. He did not know I was wearing this. You see, we're twins. This guy's just like me. So he is a very passionate man, and that's why I'm here. So I've been asking him to sell this building for 15 years. Come to Florida in the winters with me, come to New Hampshire for the lakes with me. Can't get him to do it. He loves Chelmsford. So he is passionate, so I just wanted you all to realize why he did what he did, why he went through all the stuff. He's passionate. The other gentleman, I don't know anything about him. I've heard some statements that I just kind of want to shake my head. I really feel like you people are really going to get it right. I really do. Planning boards plan for millenniums. Not a year, not a 2, not 10, not some 1-year lease. You folks are here for a millennium. And once that goes in, it's forever, folks. I got a tattoo on me right now. I tell you right now, $2,000, I could take it off. Once he gets that, not going to happen. It's forever. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Boy, it's nights like tonight. I'm glad I'm not on the Board of Selectmen anymore. I don't envy. I always feel bad for the boards because I know how hard it is when you've got such passion on both sides. It's like a lot of things, you know, when you present something like this application, you never, ever could foresee that this would create such controversy. You look at it, you step back, you look at the application, you say, what's there today? 2 units. How do we know there's 2 units there? You've got the architect's as-built plans. We submitted them long before there was a question raised about whether there were 2 units in that property. So those are stamped as-built plans of what existed prior to the architect then putting together proposed plans of what we're looking to do at the property. We thought that going from 6 bedrooms, or if you want to, look at it, 5 bedrooms, down to 3 bedrooms, that everyone would see, hey, that's reducing the use over there. It's reducing the number of people that could live there. At the very least, it's not going to worsen the situation over there. Maybe it'll be the same. Maybe at the 5-bedroom, there'd be 5 cars in the worst case scenario. And maybe with the 3-bedroom, there'd still be 5 cars. But we certainly didn't think we were worsening the situation over there. You have, with respect to threats, we never made any threats to this board last time, and I hope this board didn't take anything I said to be a threat. What we said was that what was there today and what could be used today versus what we're seeking approval for. If we don't get approval, we have 2 options. We'll use it as commercial, which is what it's zoned for, or we'll continue to use the upstairs as a pre-existing, non-conforming residential use. Why are we before this board today? Because the building inspector would not issue a building permit because we were going from 2 units to 3 units. Even though we were reducing the number of bedrooms, because we were adding an additional unit, he felt we needed to get a special permit because even though we were reducing the bedrooms, we were increasing the number of units. And the board has taken this issue up again, I understand, on another project similar to this on, I think, Wilson Street, if I remember correctly. That applicant was increasing the number of bedrooms by one, but I think increasing the number of units, but decreased the number of bedrooms. We're going from 6 to 3, 5 to 3. I think probably what's causing a lot of passion in the downtown areas, maybe people feel as though that if somehow the board denies this project, that upstairs is going to stay vacant. And they think if we can defeat this, there'll be no one in the upstairs, and therefore there'll be no added stress on the public parking. Is that the case? Evan, I don't know if, I mean, I don't want to say it, but something's going to go up there, whether it's commercial, which is a by right use, or whether it's maybe 2 units with 2 bedrooms each, or 2 units with 3 bedrooms each, which we could just get a building permit for because we're not increasing the number of bedrooms. So the community should understand that nothing is going to prevent people from using that second floor, which is going to create some parking requirement. We put together a plan. It's the minimum possible plan that would trigger a special permit. We cannot reduce this plan anymore while still needing to come before this board for a special permit. It's 3 one-bedrooms. We can't do 3 half-bedrooms. If we do 2 one-bedrooms, we don't need a special permit. We can do that by right, according to the building inspector, because we're not increasing the number of units. So we're at the minimum. If we were here proposing 3 two-bedrooms, or maybe 1 two-bedroom and 2 one-bedrooms, you know what? I think we'd have to seriously consider the public's concerns and reduce our proposal. We can't reduce it further and still need a special permit. It's as small as we can get while triggering a special permit. So if the board chooses not to approve the special permit, we'll go into one of those other directions. We'll use the second floor. It'll either be commercial or it'll be a variation of a 2-unit apartment somehow. With respect to the parking, you know, I think it's extremely unfair for everyone to point their fingers at my client and say that he's caused the parking problem over there, okay? When the property owner at 2 Groton rented his place to a driving school that was going to have significant parking needs and people coming in and out to pick up kids, you know, no one objected to that tenant when they requested their permit from the town. Hey, you're going to increase the parking requirements.
That's, you know.
So my point is that just because Joe's the next person looking for a permit, this is an existing building. It was a vacant building. We're trying to revitalize Vinyl Square. We're not going to revitalize it by vacancies, by a vacant Chinese restaurant, by a vacant building that sat vacant for over a year and a half that my clients invested money in. And with respect to those apartments upstairs, he's going to improve public safety. He's going to add fire suppression, fire egress, improve the quality of those units. He's improved the quality of the downstairs. He's improving and will improve the quality of the exterior of the project and make the building better. Invest in the downtown area. The board, I'll finish with this because I don't want to belabor it. The board has a unique opportunity to actually do what's best for everybody. Look at what's there now. Look at what can be used there now. Look at what we're proposing, which is to reduce it to 3 bedrooms. And ask yourself, what's better for Vinyl Square? What's there now? What else could be built there? Or what we're proposing? We're willing to lock it in for a 3-unit, 1-bedroom each, and it's as small as we can make it for this special permit request. So ask yourselves, what's better for the town, for everybody? Because I think if we look at it objectively, we're going to see that in all cases, what we're proposing is decreasing the stress, the added burden of Vinyl Square than what exists today or what could exist without this project. To me, it's a win-win for everybody, because something is going to go there, and I think this is the least, the least impacting use of that building. So that's how I would leave it. If the board has any questions with respect to anything we submitted, I'd be happy to address them. You've got the as-built plans, you've got the lease. I will note the lease is actually 2 years. There's a 1-year option to renew that lease, so it's actually 2 years. It goes to 2018. You know, and again, we don't have to, as part of this project, supply parking. It's not required under the bylaw, but great that he has some parking. It'll improve the situation. You've got a letter from a prospective tenant that says that she'd rent one of these units and she'd be there. She runs her own business. She'd leave at 8 in the morning. She wouldn't come back till late at night. When the driving school's closed, the hardware store's closed, when all of the business, most of the businesses are closed. So you're going to have, the beauty of this is offsetting parking. In the day, people go to work, businesses are open. At night, they'll come home, businesses are closed. If the second floor is a commercial use, they're going to be there during the day. So to me, it's the best use. Again, I feel sorry that the board, it's become such a passionate issue, and that you have to make what is unfortunately a difficult decision, that someone's not going to be happy. So I would just say, look at it objectively. You do what you think is best, looking at this project objectively, and we will live with whatever you decide.
All right. Nancy, do you have any questions for anybody?
No, leave me till last.
Leave you to last. All right, Mike.
All right, there's a bit of an elephant in the room. We have been told that there's a 5-unit and a 1-unit apartment. Evan, what do the town records actually say?
I didn't do a review of it.
All right.
The board didn't ask.
That's true.
And, no, it's really not my official determination. What I will say is that regardless, it's irrelevant. When it comes right down to the board making a decision, it's completely irrelevant. Meaning, whether they were proposing going from 2 units, 6 bedrooms, down to 3 ones, or it was 5, or it's 3 to 3, it's completely irrelevant. Other than the board is obligated to determine whether the change is substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I agree with that, because I think we should assume that what the town records have is in fact the case. Otherwise, somebody's been
Very
dripping the town
Very often, the town records are incorrect.
Okay, they may be incorrect, and that's a perfectly good answer. I would like to know the.
I think the building inspector's letter to you was no concerns. If he had identified a concern or disagreed with the information provided, he would have noted that. He's noted that in the past.
Okay. But I think answering that might help.
What I'm trying to say is,
me anyway.
based upon the testimony, it's one or the other.
Right, it's one or the other.
Right, and because it's one or the other, it doesn't really change much. The special permit request in front of you is still valid, and the board has to
That's true,
make-
but the impact changes, because if it was really only one apartment, then we assume the traffic for one apartment, not for 2. I don't think we can legitimately assume something that's not on the record.
The 2 factors are the number of units and number of bedrooms.
Yeah.
Those are the,
What
those
was
are
in-
the-
and I'd like to
right.
know what the town thought those were.
Right.
I can tell you
I
that
don't
the
have-
building inspector would issue a permit if we were keeping it at 2 bedrooms. We
Okay.
would not need to come before this board. Secondly, this building has 3 gas meters.
Okay.
One for the business, one for the first floor apartment,
Okay.
one for the second floor apartment. We've got a certification from an architect, a registered architect, putting his stamp on the building, showing it is 2 units, one on the first floor, one on the second floor. Could it have been an office in 1998 when the prior?
Yeah.
Maybe, let's assume it was. Take that into your deliberation. Let's assume it was. Has no bearing on the project today. The property today, property yesterday, the property last year was 2 units with 6 bedrooms. So again, I think Evan's point is, if it was 1 unit with 5 bedrooms, would the board think it was substantially more detrimental to the town to turn it into 3 one-bedroom apartments? I think that's what he's stating. But we've supplied ample evidence from prior owner, contractor, certified architect, that it was a 2-unit apartment.
George, you wanna?
Why don't you pass and go over that way?
All right, Ed. You made it back just in time. Thank you.
Thought you were getting out of it, didn't you?
That was a heavily appreciated break, thank you. Just gonna surprise the heck out of everybody. I don't got any questions. Don't have a heart attack.
You're off. All right, Glenn.
I don't have any questions, but on the 5-bedroom, actually, I do have a question. It's probably to Evan more than anything else. On the non-conforming, pre-existing non-conforming part of it, the parking, there was no parking there before, so by right, they don't need parking here now. Is that right or wrong?
That's right. They can continue the 5-unit without any parking. They can continue the residential use without any
So
parking.
parking should be right out of the picture then, basically,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That's my thought on that.
right. Right. I mean, it's just a challenge. It's a challenge with the site and with the area.
And-
There's a lot. Many properties have no on-site parking.
And the comment that I was gonna make is that I think going with the proposed plan is probably gonna be, it could be a lot less detrimental than not going with it, because they could take that whole top floor and put that into an office building and have 15 cars there. You know, if some computer business goes up and rents the space up there to put an office in, you can have cars everywhere. Like, with this, you might have 3, 4, 5 cars compared to, you're not gonna let it sit empty, I wouldn't.
I don't think we
No,
can.
nobody wants to hear that, but it is what it is. That's all I got.
Monica.
I don't have any questions, but I have some comments. Like I mentioned last meeting, I'm sure people in the neighborhood have seen me walking almost daily, because I'm not direct with butter, but I live in the neighborhood. So being on this board, and even before I moved into the neighborhood, I had a chance to read the North Village Master Plan, which says that mixed use is desired in the area, basically to revitalize the area. That building has it already, it's just been vacant. That being said, we have stamped architectural plans that says that this structure has 6 bedrooms in it. Now, like I started to mention at the last meeting, are more sprawling neighborhoods that have parking requirements usually require, a parking space per bedroom. We don't have this, non-conforming, so it's kind of a moot point. So wouldn't it be less detrimental to have 3 bedrooms instead of the 6 bedrooms that the stamped architectural plans have? I don't know. Okay.
All right, Nancy.
I have at least one question and comments. The one question I have, George, you usually have your manual with you. What's the minimum size for single-bedroom apartments? And do these meet?
Well, there is none unless it's in CEIOD, or if it's considered an in-law or accessory apartment. Those are the only two.
So there's no requirements for this type of
far as I-
application?
As far as I know.
Under zoning, under the
Okay.
building code, there would be.
Right. So that's not an issue. Question for the applicant. we had some discussion about a 1 to 2 year agreement on parking. What's the plan after that 2 years is up to acquire enough parking for the building?
Right. I think what you heard tonight is after the 2 years are up, hopefully the current tenant would purchase the property. If the current owner did not want to sell the property, they would do another lease. I think you've heard him say today that as long as he has control of the property, he will rent those spaces to Joe. Joe's actually looking to buy other properties up there. He's made offers on abutting properties that have parking. He's put offers out there, and that might be another solution. There's public parking directly across the street. And, parking's a challenge up there, and it's something that is critical, certainly to the revitalization of Vinyl Square, as is flourishing businesses, non-vacant properties. And I think it's something, this was a problem when I was on the Board of Selectmen, and the town has done, I think, a lot in Chelmsford Center and studied it and has a lot more maybe options in Chelmsford Center and maybe less options in Vinyl Square. But I think the challenge is that the town needs to make that a priority. Thankfully, we do have that public parking, but certainly we need more across that street. But I think as long as that property is available, Joe will rent those spaces.
Okay. I think from my standpoint, while it's a credibility issue of whether there's a second apartment there or not, it really doesn't change the discussion a lot in terms of whether there's 5 bedrooms there or 6 bedrooms there. The fact is that this plan presents fewer bedrooms than currently exist by a large percentage. So I think this is a better situation than what currently exists that could continue to exist if we don't approve this plan. I think that single bedroom apartments we've been seeing a need for in our community, so this serves a purpose. And we have been trying for a number of years to promote redevelopment of the Vinyl Square area, and this is an opportunity to do that.
George?
To follow on what Monica said, the challenge here is 5 bedrooms versus 3 bedrooms. And in the comments I heard made, someone had said, okay, given this 5 bedrooms. So 5 bedrooms to me would really draw a lot of people. If you have 3 bedrooms, hopefully the applicant would keep it to 1 person per bedroom. That's the challenge. That's the challenge that we're faced here is, whether they just keep it the way it is and he fills it up and you have a bunch of friends in there that occupy 4 or 5 rooms, even if it's 4 bedrooms. You create a situation. So this is not an easy decision. And our hands are kind of tied about the parking. So, the challenge in my head is what's better, to leave it as is, which is 5 bedrooms, even if it's just 1 apartment. And, I read the letters here, and, so given maybe there was not an apartment on the first floor. Take that out. You still have five rooms upstairs. So, that's the challenge I see here. So, and that's the thing I have to weigh out in my head is what's better, to leave it as is or to go towards the 3 one-bedroom units. So that's all I have to say.
Ed, you had one more comment you wanted to make.
Yeah, I was going to save this one during our discussion, but I'll make it now while it's still open public Public debate is still open, or comment. I've been looking at this, made a couple of trips to North Chelmsford, and I've really been going through our parking regulations to understand what we require. We sort of know what we require, but there's probably about 5 pages of parking regulations. In going through them, found an interesting paragraph, 195-16A1A. You can renovate a building or repair a building without providing additional parking, provided there is no increase in gross floor area or improved site area and the use does not change. The way I read this is, reference was 195-16A1A for regulation buffs. To me, for me, when I read this and thought about it, this takes parking out of the discussion. I know parking's not great. When I stop at 1 or 2 places up there in Vinyl Square, parking is always an issue for me. When I used to go to a Chinese restaurant, I used to have to park way down in back and walk up. So I know parking is a problem, but it's, for me, and I'm not speaking for any other board member, but for me, parking's sort of off the table. You say you'd use the place the way it is. Well, as I kind of looked at it, sort of looks like without entering the property, demo's already pretty well been done to that property, even on the second floor. You got a heck of a rebuilding job to get back to your 5 bedrooms.
Right.
Even though it's more.
I don't think we would do that. To be perfectly honest, but I've talked to Joe about it. He would probably make it 2 units with 2 or 3 bedrooms
no,
each. We wouldn't
just-
leave it as a 5-bedroom,
Yeah,
so I don't want
right.
the board to leave that impression.
Yeah, so we're going down. I personally think 3 bedrooms is better than 5, less demand, and if parking's off the table, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The decision's pretty straightforward. That's all I had to say.
All right. Well, I guess we're down to me. Working as a contractor, I work in a lot of different towns. And I will say this, that a lot of towns would not take what an architect said was there when they bought the building. Just for the main fact is, somebody can go in and build any amount of bedrooms they want or anything else. They're gonna go to either building permits, or they're gonna take and go to the assessors. I've been in this situation. I've had the building inspector come in, open up the wall, and look at the dates on the wires and say, nope. It is what it is. I applaud them for revitalizing the center of town, to using an empty space. The building really needed a lot of work. He's dumping a ton of money into it, and I can understand that. But it is what it is. It's not going to be an easy decision on any of us, and it's going to come down to a vote, and that's what it's going to be. So, that being said, would anybody like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All right, well,
You want a motion to,
You want to discuss?
we'll discuss. Yeah. Well, Nancy, you've pretty much said what you were going to say. You still
Yeah.
feel about that?
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it. I think it's a better situation than what's there. I would much rather see this than have it stay as a 5-bedroom. I would rather see 3 1-bedrooms here than see it turned into 2 2-bedrooms, because I don't think that corner's a great place to raise kids in terms of having them. There's no open space, no You know, having them on the street isn't a good thing. So single bedrooms to me are a good solution for utilization of residential space in that area. I don't think that 3 one-bedrooms are a worse parking situation than 5 bedrooms. And I'm not discussing 6 bedrooms. And I don't think we have to. To me, it's an improvement over what exists.
Mike?
Well, I would agree that if you compare the proposed use against a 5-unit apartment, which is what initially came into us, plus a 1-unit apartment, that this solution is a better solution. However, I'm not completely convinced that we're comparing against what somebody says is reality, rather than what the town believes and has been had on its books as the situation over there. I find that pretty troubling. Yeah, 3 one-bedrooms is better than 1 5, although depending on the use of the 1 5, I could see every bit as many cars showing up for the 3 one-bedrooms as for the 1 5 and the 1 1. So those are my concerns. I still haven't decided how I'm going to vote on this. So.
Yeah. Would you feel better if we got some other evidence, or that's about it?
Well, I think we have to decide
One way or
what
another.
we're comparing it against.
Yeah.
What we're comparing 3 one-bedroom apartments against.
Yeah.
If we're comparing it against 5 and 1, then I think 3 one-bedroom apartments is the way to go.
And if you compare it against a single 5,
I'm not even sure it was a single 5. What did the town think it was? We had at least one statement that somebody thought it was 3. So, you know, if we compare it to against a single 3 versus 3 single 1s, I would leave it the way it is.
George?
Tending to this is hard for me to say, but I think Nan has said everything I need to say.
Oh, my.
Paul Guinness book.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, it's
That's a first.
challenging. It's because, so on one side we have someone saying there's 2 apartments, there's 1 2-bedroom apartment. Then on the other side you have someone saying there's a 5-bedroom and a 1-bedroom. And then you have someone saying there's a 5-bedroom. And then you have, so the question is, I don't think I'd want to see a 5-bedroom there.
No.
That's, okay,
Just
so
no.
so even if they decided, say, okay, we're going to make 2 apartments, making it a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom, is that better than having 3 one-bedroom? For the fact that Nan said it's not an area for kids, and a 2-bedroom might lend to someone having
Yeah.
a child there. And we've heard, there's cars going up and down Adams Street, and there's Vinyl Square. We all know what Vinyl Square is. We continue to try to improve it. Over the years, it used to be worse, I think, before some of the lights went in, and Louise knows, she's been there for a long time. And, it's an odd intersection, and it's an odd area as far as how traffic comes in. It's similar to downtown. So, the question is what's better, You would hope the applicant who has a business downstairs is going to attract tenants that he wants to have there that will not be a problem for his business, running up and down the stairs and having people coming in and out all hours of the day. So to me, the question is whether it's going to be a 2-unit or a 3-unit, 1-bedroom or 2-unit, something with more bedrooms. So, it's a lot of rooms, and we know that the assessor may have had it at 2 2 bedrooms, but if they've been sleeping 10 people there or 8 people there for 10 years or 15 years, grant you that most of them worked across the street. I've seen them go in and out. They had no cars. So the advantage is we do have a bus line up there, so hopefully one of his tenants may use the bus instead of cars. That would be a better situation, so it's still a tough decision in my head, and I want to hear what the other board members have to say.
All right, Monica, we're going to start with you.
I want to thank everyone for their comments. I understand that there's a lot of passion in this, and I appreciate everyone's comments. However, what we have here is, even if it was, I guess, a single family over a storefront or whatever it was, it had a lot of bedrooms. And a lot of bedrooms equates to, maybe a parking need. It's a non-conforming use. That that's a non-conforming building. There's a bus line there. It's one of the more walkable neighborhoods. It's in a vacant building. It's been vacant for a long time. The master plan calls for mixed use in there, so meaning storefronts and residences, that's there. If it's 5 bedrooms, that could be 5 cars. If it's fewer bedrooms, that could be fewer cars. At night, Lano Square is empty. There's people going in and out to go to the pizza place. Other than that, it's empty. You need to work to pay for an apartment generally, so people are gone during the day when the other businesses are open. Most of the businesses close, 5, 6 p.m. when people are getting home from work. Kind of offset uses. There are times when it's busy. Lano Square can be busy. Saturday during breakfast time. Other than that, I'll leave it at that.
One. I think I'm just gonna go back to my other comment about the thought of them changing the upstairs to a full commercial office building or something like that, which could happen. And I think the 3 one-bedroom units is way better than that. Way better. It could be, you could have a telemarketer in there and have 15, 20 people in there answering phones and have 15, 20 cars out in the street somewhere. I don't know, I just think it's the better of the 2 scenarios, I guess it would be. That's it.
Ed?
Yeah, okay, so a couple of things. I didn't appreciate in the beginning, or through the early part of this process, the fact that we get a set of architectural plans showing something. We've got an assessor's card showing 2-bedroom, 2-bath use, and we're having difficulties trying to figure out what this property actually is. And then I take a ride over and I find out that you can't see anything because it's been pretty well demoed. So if you know me and my personality, I get irritated, okay? Phil's laughing because he's had a few presentations. Anyway, so I get irritated. But that passes. And reasoning takes over. So I started thinking about this. I read the parking regulations and realized that by regulation, parking is not an issue. And even though it's not an issue, within 500 feet, you've got a public parking across the street. You've got a parking lot roughly 500 feet across the street. So there is public parking available for winters and for off-street parking at times. So what I'm getting to is, since parking isn't an issue for me, I appreciate the fact that you've gone and made some short-term deal for parking. I think it's going to be better for your business. And I think the 3 bedrooms is better than any 5-bedroom that could be rebuilt in there. And any arguments with town staff over whether you could build it. So I think the way I'm leaning is, we drive a stake through this process, through the heart of this little monster of, is it a 1-bedroom, 5-bedroom, 5-bedroom, no 1-bedroom? We kill that monster, and we go with 3 1-bedrooms, and we sort of set it at that, and we move forward with modern stuff that's fire suppressed and got proper electrical codes and things like that. So that's how I feel.
I can appreciate saving, trying to fix up a building in the center of the town. It's tough. And our hands are tied by what we can look at. Basically, we can't look at parking, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it. It's not something we can do in this instance. And we're just going to try to make a decision on what we think's best for the neighborhood and best for the town. And that's about all I have to say. So,
Would you like a motion?
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll make a motion to approve special permit, planning board 2016-09. Put in a 3 1-bedroom apartments.
I'll second it.
I'll second it. Well, I guess you got to make up your decision, Mike.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
2. It passes. All right. Now, next item on the list, unless we need a break.
A blueberry break?
Well, I don't know if everybody's, well, we got the 129 discussion.
That'll be a bit. I don't care, I'm all set now, I had my break for a bit. I'll need another one around 9:30, 9:45.
Hopefully we're not here then.
Yeah, I know you've been sitting out there for a long time.
Always the last one standing, right?
See how durable you are.
I feel fortunate, though, it's only 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
A little before 9.
Yeah, that could have gone longer.
Yes, that could have. Good. Great. Well, good evening, and Chairman Parley and board members. My name is Donald Van Dyne. I am a member of the Economic Development Commission, which is the EDC here in town. What I wanted to provide you this evening was with a quick update. The EDC has conducted a couple roundtable sessions, both with brokers and with property owners. So I wanted to give you a little feedback on what we've learned there. But more importantly, I wanted to invite you and to remind everyone, that's everyone including this board here, including members of EDC, the Board of Selectmen, FinCom, the assessor, as well as the school committee, that next Wednesday, August 3rd at 7 o'clock at the school admin building, we're going to be conducting a multi-board meeting, which we will then talk more about the 129 area. And that's basically what we're talking about, is 129 area and possible rezone of this area. You know, this is no surprise to anybody talking about 129. All right, it was mentioned in the master plan going back to 2010. All right, it was then discussed again 3 years later. So we've continued to vet this as much as possible. What we're talking about is about 623 acres. All right, this is 72 properties representing about 4.7 million square feet. That number is significant, but right now we're at 13% vacancy rate. That equates to about 624,000 square feet in that area that's vacant. We march along here a little bit longer. We know that Mercury Computer's leaving. We know that Kronos is leaving. That's going to bump us up to 1.1 million square feet. That is 23% vacancy rate, which is well above industry normal. All right, what we got down here is we got 623 acres, okay, representing about 45% of our CIP, which is our commercial, industrial, and personal property value area. So that area, 45% along 129, so you go Billerica Road, you go Mill, and come back down to Turnpike, that represents 45% of our total commercial area in town, and we're gonna be 23% vacant down that area. All right, this is not consistent what we initially proposed for this area back in 1980. If we all recall, many of us do, that area was flourishing. We had high tech, we attracted companies down there. We had the buildings that made a difference. What we learned at our roundtables from our brokers is that basically it was an informal discussion. It was what we wanted to get from our brokers, and they were both local and regional. What we wanted to get them was an idea where we fit into the marketplace currently. Okay? What it is that Chelmsford provides to their clients, being their business owners that want to relocate to Chelmsford, and what Chelmsford needs to do to attract businesses. All right? A couple of takeaways that we got is Chelmsford's not on anybody's short list at the current moment. All right, we have nothing other than geographically. We don't attract businesses that make a difference and will make a positive impact on our community. What we are is we are value driven. That means we are the other side of $10 a foot. We're $9 a square foot. All right, at $9 a square foot, a landowner is not going to commit to doing anything to their building, anything to their property. All right, we are totally value driven, which means we're going to be a great place for public storage. We're going to be great for contracted yards. But I don't think this is what this board and or the master plan or what we had envisioned when we rezoned that area way back when. It was a zone industrial. All right, what we also learned from the brokers is that the business owners, they're chasing talent, okay? We are abutting a town that provides us the talent through UMass Lowell. All right, it actually surprised all of us, but our largest competitor at the moment is Lowell. Lowell is providing what employees and employers want. They want someplace that they can live, they can work, and they can play. What does that translate to mean? That means they provide the amenities. Those are the 4 R's, all right? Retail, restaurant, recreational, and residential. These are the 4 R's that are going to make a difference when we consider rezoning the 129 area. So the broker said, takeaway, what does Chelmsford need to do? What evidence? Basically, the brokers want evidence that we're going to do something that's going to put us back on their radar screen to say, yes, this is a fantastic area like it once was. Geographically, you're located between 495 and Route 3. This is where you want to locate your business. We got the talent. What we don't have is we don't have the buildings. We don't have the attraction. We don't have the zoning in place. We need to show the marketplace that we want to compete and we want to make a difference. Now, at the broker, at the property owner roundtable, we took a little different approach. In this case, we presented them with 3 PowerPoint slides, and these are slides that you all had seen before. We talked about market trends, we talked about the challenges, and we talked about strategic vision. We did this because we figured that what we were talking to was an audience that was seasoned. They knew the areas, okay? Their properties are owner-occupied. They're investors in the areas. They've been long-term investors in the area. They know that area as well as you, as well as me, as well as anybody in Chelmsford. They know what would make a difference in that area. When we started engaging them, and after Evan gave a fantastic PowerPoint presentation talking about those three slides, after we started to engage with them, we quickly realized what it began to filter down to is something that's going to be put on your feet, on your doorstep. And what they started talking about is everything that planning board is going to be concerned about. They were concerned about traffic counts. They were concerned about sidewalks. They were talking about lighting design. They're talking about landscaping. Any applicant that comes before you and wants to do any redevelopment in that area, this is going to be set at your feet. This was our takeaway. We quickly realized what they were really saying is that, conceptually, we agree. We agree that it's time to have this area rezoned, okay? And because of that, what we started to parlay into was no longer talking about the zoning issues for this area. We were talking about branding. We were talking about marketing. How are we going to attract people back into Chelmsford to relocate their businesses here in Chelmsford? What's going to make a difference? Well, we started talking about, it's not really a technology park. A technology park is outdated, okay? That's an antiquated term. So we started brainstorming on what should we call this area? Well, to me, that translates into saying, I think rezoning is a possibility. All right, so in review, the overlay district, as you all are contemplating, we totally agree with that. All right, it's consistent with the 2010 master plan. More importantly, what we're not doing is we're not taking any property rights away from current owners down there. All right, the overlay district, what it's doing is it's going to add property rights. Okay, whether or not the property owner decides to embrace it and use it, that's fine. That's up to them to make that decision. However, they always have that. So when the time comes, they want to sell their properties, there's more that can be done with that property, and it will make us, Chelmsford, that property, it will make it more competitive. Also, we will attract well-paid quality jobs. Okay, we're not talking contracted yards. We're not talking storage facilities. We're talking well-paying jobs. Why does that make a difference? It makes a difference because now we're going to be able to pump money back into our economy, back into our community. They're now going to go out. They're going to go to restaurants. They're going to shop in Chelmsford. They're going to leave part of their paycheck in Chelmsford, which is part of what FinCom will address at some point, because they're going to say, now our revenues are going to be bolstered and our coffers are going to get bigger, which is exactly what we're trying to do through economic development. We want to balance the quality of life issues with bringing more money back into Chelmsford. So in conclusion, again, the EDC does support a preliminary bylaw, as you all are going to discuss, talking about an overlay district. We think that's appropriate for Chelmsford, and now is the time. We cannot afford to wait any longer. As mentioned earlier this evening, you all, we plan for something in the future. The future is actually now. We are behind. We no longer compete. Regionally, we are not a consideration for anything commercial unless it's value-driven storage units. Lastly, I would like to have and the EDC agrees, we would strongly encourage that the planning board considers multiple housing to be part of, multifamily to be part of this plan. Okay, we heard it from the brokers. Okay, going back to the 4 R's again: restaurants, retail, recreation, and residentials. People want to live, work, and play next to where they're going to work, obviously. So please, consider multifamily as a piece of this, as a component of it. It's important for the vitality of Chelmsford. Okay, again, circling back, I want to reiterate, I want to either invite or remind this board and the other boards I mentioned earlier, come August 3rd, next week, Wednesday, school building administration building, we're going to have that multi-board meeting.
Yeah, which boards is it going to be?
It's going to be planning board, EDC, assessors will be there, board of selectmen will be there, FinCom will be there, and the school committee.
Okay, so it's going to be everybody.
So pretty much every board in town.
We're not missing anyone.
No, we're not going to miss anybody. Okay. Of course, if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Any questions I can't answer, I'm sure that Evan can answer. And if you have any assessor's question, I'm sure, hopefully, Mr. Chase will agree to answer any of those questions. And hopefully, I've done a satisfactory job to give you an overview of what we've learned so far in our roundtables.
All right, Ed, I'll start with you. You got any questions?
Not right now, thank you.
George?
I'm all set for now.
I'm good.
Mike?
I'm certainly set with what you said. We've got to have a little more discussion about the details of the bylaw.
I just had one. You said you met with brokers and property owners. Was it the commercial property owners or anyone that abuts the district?
It would be the commercial property owners. Now, the idea, I'm sorry, are you suggesting?
Sorry. What's that?
I thought,
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if anyone that abutted the zone attended any of these meetings too.
Yeah, it was primarily the commercial, and the reason for that is that at some point, this will be opened up to a public hearing, and at that time, if there's any other abutters being residential would like to come forward, that would be the appropriate time to do that. That our roundtable is in discussion with the commercial property owners.
Oh, that is it.
Nancy?
No, but I'd like to thank you very much for putting that presentation together to us.
It wouldn't have been
Very
possible.
well done.
Thank you. It wouldn't have been possible without our EDC committee, with Evan, and actually the support of the planning board. So I would thank everyone here.
Yeah,
Um,
it was well stated.
Last time we got together, I have talked to the fire chief. They've got a few issues that we have to work out. There's some other, I know the school department wants them to weigh in and put their 2 cents in. So we still got some more hurdles to get over and some other issues to solve, but we're getting there.
Absolutely. And in fact, I think Evan will address this a little bit later this evening. There is a letter going out to department heads to ask for some feedback at some point to address some of these concerns.
Yeah, you have that in your packet tonight. I emailed it out previously. I think this is something that the planning board should review and approve. Vote to send it out on your letterhead. It's your public hearing, it's your bylaw. You're the ones that have questions or concerns. Individual conversations are great, and I know there's a lot of individual conversations around and about town, but I've had them too, and I'm not aware of any concerns from any technical staff. So it's probably best to send this out, ask him to respond in writing.
The last meeting, you asked me to reach out and touch.
No,
I did.
Ask him to
what I was
respond in
told.
writing, and if the explanations don't speak for themselves, invite them back into a planning board meeting. Let's have it in a public forum where they can state their concerns if they have any in writing, and if not, in person. To date, there hasn't been any concerns, so I think, best is to just close the loop on that. So I've drafted 6 questions for the 6 major departments, including the water district. If we want to, splice this into more detailed questions, we can do that. This is very high level. I think it addresses or asks everything we need to ask. But we can be as detailed as we want.
I think you're missing one. think you're missing building inspector.
Yep, it's a good one.
Okay, and in particular, because I remember in the master plan, we had the building inspector at that point come in.
Sure, makes
We
sense.
talked about heights of buildings and
Mhm.
how that goes to construction details.
Mhm.
Because I don't know if there's something he has to do on his end to make sure that if we decide to build bigger or taller, whether those have to meet a different set of criteria.
Sure.
And he needs to prepare himself for that. And B, parking garages
Mhm.
and details associated with and around parking garages.
Mhm. So other than adding building inspector, I don't know if people want to, if you're prepared to review and vote this tonight, should take a couple minutes this evening to try to do that if we can. While you're thinking about that, the reason I say sooner than later to get this out is that as you're quickly realizing, time is moving on. One of the other agenda items that I put down there was discussion of scheduling the public hearing for August 24th. As we've done in the past several years, we've opened the public hearing in late August, continued it into September. The selectmen are scheduled to sign the warrant on September 12th. As you're aware, the goal is usually to have the warrant version be the final version that the planning board is recommending to town meeting without any significant revisions between September 12th and October town meeting. So that's the timeframe we're working on if we're going to be getting this to fall town meeting. Setting aside the questions for departments, this evening you have a second draft dated July 28th. This includes the comments that were discussed and somewhat conceptually agreed upon at our last planning board meeting. I received written comments from Monica and George. I inserted some of their comments. I provided you the full printout of their comments and my responses as part of this package this evening. I've also put together a kind of a talking points to support the inclusion of multifamily. Up till now, that I'm not aware of any significant discussion related to concerns related to multifamily. Those talking points outline three major areas. One is industry support and market trends. Second is interrelationship with 40B, and the third is addressing perceived or potential conflicts between land uses. I think probably in order to finalize the bylaw, you need to get these answers from the departments, particularly for maximum building height or maximum stories, commitment to parking garages, and then obviously the planning board needs to spend some additional time on crafting the bylaw.
Evan, do we expect that these questions would be addressed at the August 3rd meeting?
We could, I don't think so, actually. I don't think you have enough time, and I'm not sure we were envisioning having the department heads there. I think it's more of a policy kind of discussion or an update. Correct me if I'm wrong, as far as I understand this at this point, EDC and Planning Board have agreed to the concept, have agreed to work on this, targeting fall town meeting. And I think that's kind of the message for August 3rd, is to update the other appointed and elected officials, not asking for any votes next Wednesday night, not necessarily even asking for comments, but it's certainly an opportunity to have an open discussion.
I think it would be important to get some comments from some of the departments, because if somebody has a white elephant, it's gotta get
Sure.
out there.
Well, then I can, if you vote on this tonight, I can get it out tomorrow, and I can strongly encourage written responses for next Wednesday evening.
Okay.
I can present what I have.
Yeah, well, let's do that.
I think some departments, as we know, will take longer than others, rightfully so. Others, it may be pretty quick and easy and straightforward.
Let's get what we can.
Next Wednesday's meeting is multi-board meetings.
Correct.
I don't think that's the place to have this. This is a planning board discussion. And if you have a multi-board meeting, you know, I don't know if that's,
Wow.
What's the goal of the multi-board meeting again? I missed that.
The goal is to, planning board is the only board in town that has, as a full board, has received the EDC presentation on the Y.
Okay.
So the thought is to give that same presentation or a slightly different variation of it to the other appointed and elected officials. If the planning board feels as though their current working draft is something that you want to present as a framework, that may be a good opportunity. As we know, most people just want to jump right to what's being proposed. And that's really the proposed zoning. So again, if the planning board is comfortable with having some sort of presentation as to your working draft, I think that'd be a good opportunity.
Oh.
If you're looking for feedback from the other appointed and elected boards.
Okay, I'm going to go back to my old industrial days. So what's the product of the meeting next week? What are you looking, okay, I've heard one thing, you're going to inform people. Now, what are you asking the other boards to do? What's the product of the meeting that we're going to walk away with?
I think it's, from my perspective, it's purely an update, touching base. It's part of the public process. Again, I'm not suggesting or envisioning that you go do a roll call or a straw poll.
Right, so it's not an information session, it's not any sort of work session, it's an information session.
Information, but I think if the planning board in particular is interested in hearing comments from other appointed and elected officials as they represent the boards and committees that they're on, I think it's a good forum for that. So to remind everybody, FinCom has a particular interest in this issue. It's non-traditional related to zoning, but with this particular issue, they may have things that they want to say that the planning board may want to hear, and vice versa. School committee likely has some questions. Maybe they have things that they want to say. They may have things said that they want to hear.
Okay, well, how many people are going to have there, 32 or 40? Roughly 40 people?
It's looking about half of each board, just due to vacation schedules and other conflicts.
Okay.
So again, it's in my view, it's not asking any particular board or committee to take a vote or a position. It's more for individuals on boards can begin to hear the presentation, begin to think about it, and then at some point later on in the process, likely town meeting, is when they'd be asked to take a vote. If individual boards and committees want to take votes prior to town meeting, that's their business. There's a variety of purposes. Minimum, present the information, let people begin to think about it. Exchange of ideas, exchange of concerns, comments, an open dialogue, so to speak. And if we can have that, I think that's beneficial to the planning board and to the community.
So voting aside, the August 3rd meeting is expected to be a kind of a roundtable discussion across the various boards.
Correct. So
information gathering. Exactly.
So previously, I have sent the school superintendent some of this information, not the proposed zoning bylaw, but the 40B fiscal impact study. He forwarded that to the school committee. So they may have questions about it. They may have particular questions about what's being proposed as far as zoning is concerned. The other thought process is procedurally, public process. I think some believe that it makes sense to touch base with appointed and elected boards sooner than later.
I think as a practical matter, we're going to need a lot of allies in order to get this properly presented at town meeting and to get it passed. And I think this is where we get them, or this is where we start to get them.
I think the politics of town meeting aside, in order to develop a good
Yeah.
working plan, we need to have the inputs of the other
Yes.
committees.
So the question bears then, if you give them this, are you leading them? Or should we come up with a series of questions and present that to those respective boards and say, here's our questions. What do you think of retail in this? What do you think of restaurants and housing? And let them come back with individual responses or board responses, compile them, and then whether we split them up amongst, split up in twos or something, and then, or threes, and then go through them, process them, and compile them? Or do you lead them by giving them something? And then,
I, no disrespect, George, I think we're well beyond discussion on this topic. And if I were a member of the planning board, that'd be my position. Again, the way I understand this interaction between EDC and planning board is that planning board agreed that this needed to be done. You committed to working on it. This is your draft. From my perspective, this is what you believe in. At some point.
So then we need to sell this.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
where we
So
are
that's
with
a
this. You're in a
different thing than a
partnership with
roundtable
the
discussion.
You're in a partnership with the EDC. You're the chief elected planners in town. I don't think nobody else is asking you to work on this. You've decided to work on this as a chief elected planners.
I think this I think this meeting can handle both. I don't think they're inconsistent. I think presenting something that has already been chewed over a little bit by EDC, by us, has got several rounds of changes in it. I think that gives us something stable enough to use as a basis. And I think we can still can and should ask all the other boards for thoughts and comments.
So then should this be, once we get this draft here, should this be sent out ahead of time to those folks and have them come in with it in hand in their comments, so we don't waste a lot of time?
I think that makes a lot of sense if we can do it, and it looks to me as if the changes that have been proposed over the last couple of weeks are small enough that they can be put in there.
Yeah, it's a working document.
Yeah, it's a working doc.
So, working document, I think, and I
Say
think,
by all means, let's get it to
I think procedurally, as you look at the calendar, your next meeting, your next regularly scheduled meeting is August 10th. So you're there on the 3rd to either present or listen, and then you're going to take that information back on the 10th and presumably continue to work on your draft.
I mean,
Question. During this meeting, would it be just taking comments on this draft, or would there be a review of what was done years ago?
I think what was done 3 years ago was completely irrelevant at this point. In fact, it would
just
confuse.
it was very different.
Just
very,
different,
very
just
different.
It would confuse this effort.
This is much,
Simpler.
this is, much simpler. It boils down what we, let's put it this way. This is sort of a thumbnail sketch of what we did 3 years ago, and this gets to the point real quick. And so somebody can pick up on it. The reason I started asking questions about the meeting next week, who's chairing the meeting next week, out of curiosity?
It's hosted by the EDC, if I'm correct.
Okay.
But this is a posted meeting?
It will be
It's
posted.
going to have to be a
posted.
posted meeting,
Yep.
so we'll have to open it
Okay.
first.
Just,
If I can interject on the idea of whether or not to go forward with the proposal of the overlay district, I believe personally that it's a fantastic platform to start the dialogue. This is something that EDC has worked with the numerous boards and all the chairs. This is something that's been drafted, and I might be out of line here, but I think it is something that generally the planning board does agree with. So I think it does start a dialogue. There might be some massaging to it, but I think it's a great start.
okay, I'm hearing I'm hearing a couple of things. I'll just put this out since this discussion. I'm hearing sales pitches to do this stuff. I think we're beyond that. What I'm trying to see is how to rope together a group of 30 people to accomplish positive dialogue and have time for 30 people or so to put input. And that's what I'm digging. I'm going to be very direct. Can somebody run a meeting with 30 people and control the boards and get positive feedback that's meaningful? That's what I'm concerned about, this multi-board meeting. And running a big, large group meeting. And George's comments about getting some of this stuff out ahead of time, I think are very valid.
Yeah.
They can read it ahead, they can come prepared, and they can have their comments. And I think you've got to give some time to how you set this meeting up, how people are gonna sit so they can feel included. Are you gonna have them get up and come to a microphone to speak? Or you're gonna have them just yell out from their point? I'm going way back, from their seat. I'm going back to way back in industrial days when we used to run large group, high-performing teams in group meetings. And what I'm trying to figure out is how to get this big, I'm assuming you're gonna have at least 20 people. If you're lucky, maybe you're gonna have 30. And how you're gonna get these people to contribute and come together. You don't want them sitting in rows like that, I don't think, and yelling out. You know, that's what I was getting at. And so now I've just sort of, instead of dancing around with it, I put it out there so you understand.
Absolutely.
I'm very interested in this. I was very interested in it before. It's not that. Other questions I've got, Evan's pushing for a public hearing the 28th. He's really pushing us, he's pushing us, he's pushing us. I don't know that we're ready. You know, now I'm starting to get wound up. I don't know that we're ready. And we're having meeting after meeting after meeting. And I don't know that the 28th is going to do it, especially when you open up the input session from next week. So that's enough on my part. I've said it. I'm not looking for sales of wanting to do this. I'm down to the nuts and bolts of how are we going to present this. It's a working draft, but are we going to get people's names out of this and put their comments in, so when somebody picks this up and reads it, they're not wondering who MG is or what does MG mean, or ER.
Those have to come out.
Yeah.
All that will be cleaned up.
You know, they wouldn't know my initials or anything else, and that would confuse them.
No, they'll get clean copy.
Yeah, okay.
And that, to address your concern whether or not August 24th is realistic, if we could wait till after next week to see what response we get, what kind of dialogue we have going back and forth, I think that would be a good indicator.
You won't have time.
We got a notice, we got a new, for a public hearing, we have, is it 14 days or 10 days?
I think it's 14. You have to advertise twice.
You would have to let us know, staff, no later than Wednesday, August 3rd.
Oh. Lights out. Well, that was symbolic.
To go home.
Lights out.
Thank you.
This is simple to resolve. Go ahead, Monica.
I just have a question about the two meetings. If we're looking for input on that, I like your question on the structure of the meeting, because is it kind of like a speaker, kind of this is what we've done to the group? Is it sitting at a round table and doing it more charrette style, would we do that with the public meeting as well? Are the goals of the public meeting the same as the goals of the departmental meeting?
No.
Like, are we going to speak to the public like this is what we've done, or we'd like your input on this? Like, what are...
Well, the public cannot reasonably comment unless they have something in front of them that they can look at and say, this is what's being proposed.
And what has happened traditionally in the
Right.
past is the planning board comes up with a document, presents it to the public. The public has an opportunity at that point to openly speak on it. And the planning board has changed things throughout you can change it throughout the public process. And then once the public process closes, then the planning board would take the vote. So that typically would go, I would anticipate this public process go 3 meetings to make sure that we've reached out to everybody and we've made the necessary changes that we feel are important. Going back to the dates, I think the August meeting may be quick, but I would say to go ahead and advertise it for the first meeting in September
Has to be advertised tomorrow.
So that's no good.
August.
But if you advertise it for the first meeting in September, that gives us 2 meetings in September and at least 1 meeting in October before town meeting. You can reserve the spot on the warrant, there's no question.
Right.
But if we get the process, and even if we have to have a special meeting in September just to hear the public input, do it. So, because it's a time crunch. Or you do advertise it for the 28th. If we're not ready, we postpone it.
Yeah, I think that's what we ought to
That's
do.
what I was hoping you'd say, because it's easier to
So-
postpone than it is to jam it all in.
So that's just the simple end of it. So, so, I would like to get to the comments that, not trying to, it's getting late. Monica's made some comments and I've made some comments. And I don't know if there's anyone else that's made some comments, but I like to review those and see if these things are things that we should include. But that's,
So let's do it.
Yeah, one more thing.
One more thing.
Yeah, Evan, just to everybody, but directed at Evan. In this, somehow, I think we need some words, and I don't know where they belong, that this is the governing section. Okay, I've gone through the zoning bylaws a little bit, and there are some conflicts in the parking areas and other things. And somehow, since we're doing this fairly at a fast pace, I think we need a sentence in here that says, this is the what I'm trying to say is, this is the overriding section, if there are any conflicts. I know there's correct English words for that. That I think we need, I was getting technical
Yeah,
about
that would
the
be
actual.
That would be under the last section of, the last section applicability of the COID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then amenities all, yeah, I think you need to put something in there, a B, that this is the governing, or,
Okay. Yep.
I can't think of the right word.
Governing requirements.
Yeah.
Yep,
This
yep.
article takes precedence
precedence.
over.
Takes precedence over.
Requirements detailed in the COID.
No, it takes precedence over other,
why would you put that in?
well,
I
first
think
of all,
as trying to clarify it, I think A does clarify that, legalese, but if you want to be crystal clear to,
there's, if you start going through things like.
Yeah,
the
but lawyers like things fuzzy. Right, Mike?
Depends on what side we're on.
That's right.
If you start going through the parking regulations, which we did for another subject earlier tonight, you find there's a bunch of conflicts, and there's conflicts about garages.
Yep.
For a couple of them.
Yeah.
okay.
So you want to just go through the comments and rip through them and see what we think? Because I'd like,
Who's MG?
That's me.
that's Monica.
I'm G1,
Okay.
G2, and G3. I guess I'll go with my comments. I'll start with G1.
You each have a copy of them.
That, number one, to have local access to some goods and services. I either said delete it or change it to limit. I said change it to limited. Evan just said just delete it and have access to goods and services and housing. So my second comment would be on number 3, promote orderly, effective, and quality development and redevelopment. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at first-generation buildings that would be redeveloped, so I don't want to beat that one. So then, number 3 and 4 are kind of tied a little bit together, but 3, I just said without, adding to the promote orderly, effective, and quality development, redevelopment, without creating adverse effect on existing business and neighborhoods. Evan said it would be part of the special permit criteria anyway, so not really needed or appropriate here. It's fine with me. Number 4, which I found interesting because I think Monica had a very similar comment, and I said to provide housing that would be compatible and complementary with surrounding business and neighborhoods so both can coexist without adverse effects. Evan's comment back to me was to basically eliminate and neighborhoods so both coexist without adverse effects. And I think Monica had something very similar to that. Or, and
Never mind, I'll let you go through, and then I'll go through mine, and maybe we can,
okay.
yeah, just.
My next question was by right or special permit. And this was a question, not sure on this question, if someone wants to do one business listed where they still need to apply for special permit overlay, and they still would have to apply for special permits. So I guess it'll be okay. I would just leave it as by right, I guess. And then a little concerned about convenience stores with gas stations, and evidence that gas station is not permitted as a use separately listed in the use table and not listed here. Because I was thinking of like a Cumberland Farms or something that's open 24 hours with a gas station. I don't know if we want that down in that area. That would really lend to start opening up other businesses to go 24 hours down there, and I don't know if we're ready for that part of it just yet. Then I put a comment, do we want to restrict hours of operation, no 24-hour operations? And Evan said no, Plan Bill could condition that on project case by case, I guess, so. Typically restaurants would close at a reasonable hour and that type of thing, so. My number 8, as an accessory to commercial industrial building, I think that was basically, Ed mentioned that last meeting, so.
Yeah, can I make a comment on that one?
Sure.
I kind of agree with what you say here. On the other hand, let us suppose that somebody were to propose building a parking garage that would service a number of the properties and businesses.
Well, that would be an accessory to a business.
To what business? It might be on a completely separate lot.
Under current definition of parking garage, it cannot be a self-standing business.
Okay, it cannot be, all right.
No.
And I don't think we want to encourage someone building a parking garage.
If you ever got to that point down to 129, 25 years from now, then
Maybe we will, okay. I'll accept that.
But I think Ed talked about that last meeting, right, Ed? That we really don't want to get into that.
No, I
We want the
envision,
parking garage associated with a,
I envision increasing
Yeah.
the FAR on the lots by going taller.
Right.
And
Put parking under.
under or next to. Either way. But it would,
be associated with the business.
building, yeah, in other words, you look at some of the buildings, if we're going up,
Yeah.
they're gonna need more parking, and they don't have the lot size.
My number 9 comment would be, basically, will count towards impervious. Should also be a note about architecture being compatible with building design. Evan said it'll be applied part of the CIOD. My next one would be, just adding the comment, a use as listed above in that section 195XXA, so I don't think that's too earth-shattering. So my next comment is more food for thought here, and that is, for housing under the inclusionary, can we eliminate the density bonus and lower the setback requirement? Or actually, maybe that's the wrong wording there, but right now, under inclusionary, we relax the setbacks. To me, maybe we don't want to relax setbacks in this area. So by doing so, this may be an opportunity to add a section in the sense that we want to build housing. We want you to build housing. Under the CIOD, you have to follow inclusionary, which gives you a density bonus, which basically gives you more product on a piece of land. If we eliminate that density bonus, say, look, we're going to reduce the amount you have to pay into inclusionary if you're not going to, if you're going to do a payment in lieu of. That way, because I think originally in the thinking inclusionary was the density bonus was going to help offset the dollars required to pay for the inclusionary fee or pay into the inclusionary fund. My thinking here is to allow the housing, but allow it to be a little bit smaller so that we have greater buffer zones between the housing and the commercial on either side of it or around it. It's a little confusing, but I don't know if I was clear with it, but, you know, I'm not saying throw out the inclusion, I'm not saying throw out multifamily, I'm just saying that, is there a way to give someone an opportunity to build housing there? Is there an opportunity for us to get some money for the inclusionary housing fund, but yet keep it, the building within maybe existing bylaws or something that doesn't create a project that's huge? That's kind of what I'm thinking there.
Basically,
So-
like the project that we've been looking at, it's close in the front, it's close in the side.
Yeah.
It's big,
Yeah.
you know, you're cramming
But
an
that's
awful
part
lot
of,
on one
that's part
small
of
lot.
the density bonus, if
Yeah.
you said, look, you can build less, and we're not gonna hit you up for the full 50,000 or 70,000, and that way there's more buffer zone between the commercial and residential, so, and that would you have to really quantify the numbers, you'd have to really put those numbers together, okay? Or just say, look, if you're gonna give up the density bonus, we'll reduce the amount you have to pay into the inclusionary by 25% or 50% or some number. It just, to me, it's, I understand the trend now to put residential and commercial areas, but they need to coexist peacefully. And I can give you prime examples of residential in downtown Lowell that they call up and complain that 2 o'clock in the morning, the bars are emptying out, and the bars have been there for a long time, and the residential hasn't been there, and they're not coexisting well. We want to make sure that whatever, this board is in a position that those things can coexist well, and that's food for thought. Hopefully I explained it well, and that's my thought on that one.
Hey, Monica.
All right. Before I start, there's a really good book, and I don't know if anyone has time to sit down and read this book. It's like that thick. It's not that bad. It's called Retrofitting Suburbia. I strongly suggest flipping through that because it looks at things like office parks and other things too. So it has sections on that, and it kind of talks about like the layout and taking the existing.
We still have to figure out if people really want to go from, I've gone from a very I've been here a long time. We had farms. We
Yeah.
have nothing now.
Yeah.
You know, we become a suburbia. Now that we want to take a move till we got more and more apartments.
Yeah.
It's a decision that we have to live with.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there's an awful lot of push from a lot of people that want more and more.
For you.
The
You
good
know,
thing about
it depends on what you want.
Yeah.
It's a conversation that needs to be made.
The good thing about this book is that it lays out a nice argument, and take it or leave it. There's also some nice diagrams to look at, and it kind of talks about benefits and things that aren't too. So it's just background information, much like EDC gave us background information.
Yeah.
This is some planning background information. So I suggest that. Do what you want with the suggestion. So first I have comments within and then comments without. So I'll go through the comments that are on the existing draft and then the follow-up questions that I have after. So under section A, when we're talking about the permitted uses, I comment that we shouldn't permit drive-throughs. It's not even just current planning trend isn't new. It's basically taking the village concept and recycling it and using it now. The idea that when you have a live, work, play, whatever area is to have it walkable, and somehow I think that if we want to achieve that, we have fewer curb cuts. We don't have Drum Hill through 129. We make it, you leave your office, you grab your sandwich if you're in a rush, and you run back. You don't get in your car and drive through. So I want to make sure that we don't turn this into a Drum Hill where we have drive-throughs and curb cuts. That's why I don't think we should permit drive-throughs at all. When talking about building height, I was concerned about the densities, especially close to the residential areas. So one thing that I did ask about was, oh gosh, you have to bear with me because I think I did this at some ridiculous time in the morning. Basically being compatible with the neighboring, with the neighborhood. One thing I threw in later on is kind of talking about tying in density bonuses to the parking. So I think we should give density bonuses for like things like shared parking, or if you build a parking structure, then maybe we give you a density bonus that allows you another level. I don't think we just give out, you can build 6 levels. It has to be tied to something, and I think reducing the parking, especially along 129, maybe we do relax the setback some to create more of a village feel that also is to create more of a village office live work play feel. So instead of having a C and parking in front, maybe we say, okay, so you want to build another layer, another level. Okay, well, maybe if you want retail, build it on 129, and then yeah, you can build another level. So that's my thought there. Let me see my comments too, and I probably should have put some of them in the purpose and intent. I do think in our purpose and intent we do need to add a comment of creating an area that is more pedestrian friendly, more something that encourages bicycle use of public transit. I think to take this from a 1950s office park to either a new feel or that village feel, would we say outright that we want this to be a pedestrian oriented environment. Let me see here. See, I talked about, yeah, that wasn't really relevant. And so I think some of my suggestions relate more to form rather than the zone itself. And I think it's important that no matter what we do, we clarify exactly what we want the zone to look like. So I think this is a good basis there, but I think maybe we do need to spell out exactly what we're expecting to go in, and maybe have some diagrams that we include as part of our end process. Something that's like in the center village. We attach that here. So those are some of the thoughts that I jotted down. Residential uses in an office environment is nothing new. We just have to make sure that we execute it correctly.
Well, as far as the residential uses go, the original proposal at least basically kept them on a perimeter, roughly representing the interface between the 129 IA zone and adjacent residential properties, which I think is a pretty good scheme. But you have to look at the map, and is the map the right map? I think it's pretty close. I mean, is there anything wrong with that needs to be fixed?
We're also trying to keep it somewhat streamlined, that we don't get a big
Right,
monstrosity
exactly,
in front
exactly.
of town
This has
meeting,
gotta
and
be
that
pretty
will,
simple.
Yeah.
that will sink it.
Evan, can we
I
get
think I could-
this map electronically?
Yep.
In terms of that buffer zone, the exclusion zone, I could see mixed use in there, but not, and honestly, I don't know whether it even makes sense to have an exclusion zone because you already have industrial there.
Yeah.
Putting 20% commercial into that industrial doesn't seem to me to be a really absurd thing to do.
Well, we do have some flexibility coming in, nice to see COID that we're having,
Yeah.
which is gonna overlay this, and we can take case by case, kind of look at it and figure it out.
If you have a if you have an exclusion zone there,
Thank you.
if you have an exclusion zone there, you may open a Pandora's box with the residents along Turnpike.
Right.
By just having it, and if you don't have it, they're used to what's there now, they're used to the process, but you start explaining how you're gonna be changing things, and they're gonna start imagining a lot of different things. And I think you're open. I would leave.
Having the exclusion zone will make it more compatible to the neighborhoods.
I think the people in the neighborhoods will conceive that it is more compatible with the neighborhoods. Whether it actually is or not.
Yeah, but it's already full with, it's already
Yeah.
filled with businesses,
Well, it's all
operating
commercial.
businesses.
But there are a number of buildings there that are certainly redevelopable and are opportunities for redevelopment.
The other piece of that is, right now, the access out to Turnpike is very, very limited. I think
That's
there's
right.
only one business that actually opens up on a Turnpike. If you were to put some of these commercial things in there, I think you'd find yourself opening up that border.
Well, that's a whole other can.
That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, I don't
know
wanna.
that you would, because they already have access to either Mill Road or to,
The point of the exclusion zone is to protect those
Right.
neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Right.
So none of the commercial uses can go in the exclusion zone.
Right. What
The
I'm
way it's
saying
written
is,
now is only
Okay.
residential can go
Is
there.
Yeah.
that what it says? Is it?
Yes.
that's what it
is
says, only
The
residential.
protection zone.
So
If you want to deep six the whole thing, then allow commercial uses
yeah,
along
right.
Mill Road and
then you get a
Turnpike.
whole
No, no,
different
no,
set of
no.
problems.
Right, so it's a protection zone.
Okay.
You don't want to introduce,
And everything there
Restaurants
is to be
and-
non-conforming. Okay.
No,
that'd be
everything,
creating a conflict
industrial
that-
is
that's
still
worse than
permitted
exists
there.
now.
I don't think
Industrial's
that's a
still
good idea. I mean,
permitted.
granted, we-
Okay, I
Industrial
see.
is still
Ask the
permitted, but you can
people,
also
so-
put
We're making an
residential,
assumption.
but you can't put 20%
Okay, I'm
commercial.
catching on.
And
I'm
I'm
not
not sure that
I
makes
missed
sense.
that. Okay, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're assuming, I mean, since we're not really asking.
Well, we've
Yeah.
heard from them over the
Yeah,
years. They want to be protected and left alone.
they want protected.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the exclusion zone. Is it the right map, as someone said? Is it the right
Yeah.
location? Well, that's up for debate.
Looks pretty close
Yeah.
to me, but,
So
you
in
know,
the
you can
past-
always argue.
This is just, and
They don't want anything near them.
No, that's not what I'm gonna ask, though. You know what I'm gonna ask. But that's not it, though. Have they ever, do they usually, have they in the past said what they want, or did we say, this is our idea, and then they said no?
It was never an issue because the 2013 effort focused only on Billerica Road, so Mill Road and Turnpike were not threatened, so to
They
speak.
were not addressed.
If this
Because we took
overlay
Mill Road out.
extends all the way to Mill Road and Turnpike, it's clearly a threat, and it's probably not good planning to begin with.
Right.
Over the years, we've had one or two little renewal projects along Turnpike, and we've had some interest from the residents who live across the street,
Yes.
who are very concerned. I won't name names, but
About
we'll
any-
just leave it as residents who live across the street who are very concerned.
Right
So
serve
I
on
would
the-
expect
right serve on
that
the board of
to
selectmen.
multiply if we got into the discussion heavily.
I think,
I just wish that we would kind of ask them what they want.
You don't have to
Oh,
ask
they don't
them.
want
They
anything.
will tell you
Yeah.
They will
that they
tell
don't
you.
want it.
They will
They
tell
want you
you.
to bulldoze it and then build it, and then put a farm there.
Yeah.
Is that what they said? We want to
That would be good.
put a farm of cows.
I think they've
No
come
cows.
to
They smell.
coexist with the industrial businesses that are there primarily because of the limited
Yeah,
access and
largely.
the.
No pig farms.
Right.
Farms aren't that popular.
And there's,
smell it, you know.
and after the businesses close up at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, or whatever it is, most of it's quiet. You put a restaurant there, and the restaurant's got people going in and out 10 or 11 o'clock at night, you got cars in that neighborhood.
That's what the bylaw doesn't even allow that opportunity as
Right,
currently
right,
drafted.
right, that's what we're saying.
That's the point.
Right.
Okay.
That's the point of the exclusion zone.
So, it seems to me as if the next thing to do is probably to take these suggestions that we've discussed, and I think by and large adopt them all. There are a few that have been suggested different wordings on and what have you, and get a draft out that we can show to all the people going to next week's joint meeting before they get there.
Yeah, what I'd suggest is Evan get the draft out to us.
Right.
We get a day to comment back to him.
Right, and then.
Then it
Yep.
goes.
Yep, I can do that.
Okay.
And then strongly encourage you to read the multifamily talking points.
Right.
It's, I know that's a dirty word, and I know it's the elephant in the room, but even though you're not directly regulatorily tied to 40B, you really are. Read the literature, and you'll quickly see that the planning side has a direct impact on 40B and affordable housing and things of that nature. So I know you don't want to talk about it and the community doesn't want to deal with it, but that's where the market's going to build 40B. And so then the question is, if the market's going to build it there, the town can't stop it. So then the question is, strategically, do you allow it under zoning? And if you allow it under zoning, do you prefer that it get built under zoning or under 40B?
Yeah.
That's why it's,
I think
that's why it's partially in here.
I think we're all pretty much in agreement that we rather have control of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
but-
so
but-
that
right.
takes it out of 40B.
Right, so once you come to
So-
that determination,
Yeah.
you're not deciding whether the zoning should allow small projects or big projects. 40B is big projects.
Right.
That's what's gonna get built down there, whether you like it or not. So for the industrial park, if you're gonna zone it, yeah, you can try to say, well, we're gonna only allow small projects. No one's gonna build small projects down there, so they won't go through the zoning, they'll just build a 40B. The point of this zoning is to try to convince what would be a typical 40B developer to use the zoning overlay,
Yeah.
and you guys in the town accommodates two strategic goals rather than only one strategic goal. It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
But you have to believe in your bylaw and in your special permit process. At least under local zoning, you know that legally you have the legal right, and the courts will give deference to a denial on a local zoning provision. That's, if we go this route, that's the goal of the bylaw, because we have to make the purpose and intent strong enough where if the planning board sees a project, whether it's commercial, mixed-use, residential, that's completely out of whack, that you have the legal framework to deny it. And I think that's, so, to me, I think the original strategic goal of the zoning was to keep it simple, one page. As you can see tonight, we're easily and quickly able to make it more complicated than we really need to.
Yeah.
And as soon as we do that, imagine trying to explain it to a multi-board meeting or a town meeting. The simpler, the better, as long as the planning board has full faith and trust in the COID, the special permit process, and your decision-making. Then if you don't like a project, it's not gonna get permitted through COID.
Right, so the flip side to that is, if, let's say a residential project comes in, we don't like it because it's of a large scale.
What's gonna get built out
and
there,
then
I
they
can
turn
tell
around and
you,
leave
I
and
can
go
tell you,
40B.
I can tell you at a minimum, the 65 units or more is what's gonna get built out there. Most of them are gonna be 100 units to 110
Yeah.
units. And if you're in an office park environment and you got a 100,000 square foot empty vacant office building, and you tore it down and you built a 100-unit apartment complex, it's the same thing. It's 4 stories, 200 parking spaces, 100,000 square feet. It's exactly the same thing.
That's why I was talking about giving them the incentive of having reduced requirements for, still have it, get it into our housing stock or towards our 10% goal, but try to give them incentives to build, instead of 100 units, 70 units or 60 units. Okay?
They'll do that, they'll happily do that if there's no affordability component. And if the town allows medium-sized multifamily without an affordability componment,
Yeah, we lose.
you-
We lose.
you're chasing your tail. You're doing a disservice to everybody.
I got a question for Evan. You seem very strong in this, is from your talks with people. Is this what you think might be happening? Some of those empty buildings might come down?
There's no
and
indication of
multi-
there's no indication from any property owners out there. They nod their head about the concept.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that they're the person who's gonna actually implement.
Okay.
I just have a question in terms, kind of, talking about like mixed use and things. Has anyone expressed interest in that, since we need residential in?
There's no specific proposals, there's no property owners down there saying that if you adopt this, I'm gonna do this. There's nodding of the head that, yes, we understand the concept. But the marketplace, once you leave the town of Chelmsford and you go to brokers or you speak to real estate developers that do business in other communities, surprisingly, Chelmsford is way behind the 8 ball, not just on the multifamily and office parks, but business amenities. Almost every major industrial park along 128 and 495 allows some sort of mixed use and multifamily within their large office industrial parks.
Where? I work on 128. I'm just trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Waltham, Woburn, Lexington, Westwood.
But I'm saying, you're saying along 128. I drive up past.
You don't.
I go to buy Johnstone Supply up to there all the time. You go across the other side where the market basket is. I'm just trying to figure out where.
Yep. We're not right on.
Point to a building.
You go just 200 yards farther down 117, and you'll find the first one.
Yeah.
You know
So
what
as
Johnstone is,
you're getting in close to Waltham, you went towards Waltham Center, you're talking on one side.
No, the other way. The other is a fairly large development up there.
I'll say.
Oh, you're talking on the.
Yeah.
I'll forward you the list.
Yeah.
Every week. I mean, I was sending articles to you guys. Every week there's a new article.
Yeah.
It's now out to 495. The fact that
I can honestly say that you won't find many people in town here that want Chelmsford to be a Waltham either.
No, that's why it's a balancing act. And again, this is more about filling the annual 500,000 square feet of vacant space. If the town wants to simply fill it with low-value businesses, like is going on right now, then do nothing. If you want to maximize the 4.7 million square feet down there, like it was in 91, where it was a 75-25 tax split, this is the direction that other towns are taking. So, I strongly recommend you read the multifamily talking points. If you haven't read the 40B fiscal impact study, I do recommend you read that. It's been in the hands of the school committee. A lot of those are they're myths. Putting an apartment building in the middle of an office park that's not a child-friendly or a walkable or near recreational parks or schools does not generate school-age children. It generates some children, but not school-age children. And then it comes down to, once you can get beyond those myths, and it comes down to just general impacts, traffic, water, things of that nature.
So, we're gonna get back to Mike's comment. What comments do we want to include now?
Well-
I had several questions or comments, and Monica had several questions or
Well,
comments, and I'm
we
not
went
sure.
through them, and I think we more or less reached consensus on each of them. A lot of it was just by a quick nod of head.
Well, I'll send the draft out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if I didn't hit the mark, let me know. again, I think for the third, I wouldn't include anything that the board hasn't, conceptually agreed upon.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, can we do, I know it's late.
Do you want to just walk through yours with yay and nay?
I mean, I did that. The only comments that I don't think there was conclusion on was G6 and G7. I had yes to 1, yes to 2, yes to 3. I was going to put in something, yes to 4. 5, I thought was,
You lost me now. Calling G6, G7?
G6, G7 were the only two that I had, there was no conclusion. You presented it, and there was no response
Yeah, I
from
thought
the
just
board.
gas stations are out.
G7, don't worry about it.
Yep,
Ours,
yep.
no problem. Will control that through our,
Right.
okay? So,
Friendly meeting.
I think you answered gas stations are not covered, so and convenience stores would be allowed, but not that would fall under retail. So
Correct.
there's nothing to do there.
Correct, okay,
Okay?
all right. So all the others, as you were explaining them, and
Okay?
I kind of thought that my response was adequate.
Which is fine, and I think we all kind of agreed. I mean, it just,
Yeah, G11 was the only one that I had
because, I mean,
apprehensions about.
your advisory, we actually vote on it. I
Yeah,
mean, you
exactly,
can-
exactly.
So I will help you with your decision. How's that? I will tell you to leave it out, but I would like to reserve that after we get through town meeting in 6 months or a year, that we look at this one more
Oh,
time.
yeah, of course.
Of course, absolutely.
That way, it will help expedite the process. And then maybe, and we look at it as a board and just think about it and as we go along, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Okay? So does that help you with that one?
Yeah, it helps me
yeah.
with that one.
So when we prepare the draft, should we just go through
Yeah.
like each point and say, okay, 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 no, okay, okay?
I think he's essentially done it.
I think we did that.
Let me put the draft out tomorrow, and let me know if I
Okay.
Yeah.
hit the mark.
Yeah. Okay, I guess still got questions, but. Monica's got discouraged drive-throughs.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
can we? Should we?
I would say you leave them in, otherwise, who's going to build anything down there? What's the problem with a CVS with a drive-through?
That's my opinion, that I agree with you. I don't
You-
see a problem
right.
for a CVS.
So I mean, what
Or
Monica's
a
presenting
bank.
is the planning utopia, that you're actually going to turn that into a
Not
place
till
where
now.
people live, work, and play. I don't view it necessarily that way.
I don't think 129 would be
I think it's, I mean, the purpose and intent says to maintain it as a, primarily an office park. It's gonna be auto-oriented, but I think where the planning board approves business amenities, you do what you normally do. You require pedestrian and bicycle amenities, so that if people want to walk from their office building or their residential building, they can.
Right, we require
Yeah,
that.
but to think that you're going to, turn it into, a true village center, I'm not sure that's,
I don't see that.
I'm not sure that's what we're trying to do, if
Not
we'll ever
yet.
get there, and if we wanted to.
So-
But
so
if you,
I'm just gonna say, sorry, Monica, but as far as those two, I don't see it being a problem to have a drive-through, a bank or a CVS.
what you could do is, you
So
could
that's-
say you're not going to allow freestanding drive-throughs. So
Okay.
you want them to be on an end unit.
End unit or against the building.
Right. And ma-
I can see that with a special permit.
Yeah, so, so there's ways.
Asterisk that
if-
says we don't really want these.
Yeah, I mean, the board is not amenable to freestanding drive-throughs. The CVS, freestanding CVS with the
Right.
loop like you have in
Yeah,
the center. If
okay.
if you don't want to see that on 129, that's easier to say. Freestanding.
Then
not
let's say
permitted.
I
that.
can say
Then
that
let's
with a
say that.
compromise.
Okay,
Yeah, let's
I'll-
say
The
that.
And an asterisk
drive-
Good with that.
Drive-throughs may be considered
Just they're not, okay, all right. So I will work
and
that
attached
and
to
send it out tomorrow.
buildings
Okay.
and not for restaurants.
So, and then, building height, you recommend 100 feet.
Why?
100 feet's
That was,
really,
well,
really-
Ed was
I know.
suggesting,
100 feet's really tall, okay? But go to 90.
my suggestion
It
is.
sounds
What I'm
less.
thinking of is, what I'm thinking of is, for the future, some
Yeah.
developer may want to come in here and have a tall building that he can be seen by Route 3.
Yep.
In other words, their ego is big enough that they want to have their name along the top of it.
Trump Towers?
Huh?
Trump Towers?
Yeah, but.
You know, I was much better with 6 stories than any
So,
number
well, I
of
Googled
feet.
stories.
Well,
I
6
Googled the
stories is
word
gonna be
stories.
close
Yeah.
to probably 80 feet.
80 feet, yeah.
There's-
I'm not going to
And if you
object
have a
to.
parking garage under, there's your 100 feet.
You can
I
have
was-
Yeah, I'm-
what-
your first story can be 20 feet.
What I was getting at with,
but I'm better with 6 stories than any number
No.
of feet.
no, what,
We thought,
no, that's going to be a peeing contest. Excuse me, folks. That's, you need to define it by feet. Otherwise, stories, what happens if I got a developer that comes in here and says, oh, each of my stories is 15 feet? And you start adding them up, that's 105 feet. You know, or 95 feet, excuse me. My math is gone at this time of night.
So,
But
to your.
my idea is a
I
number
agree.
instead of stories, and my number was 100 feet because I thought,
I'll explain to you why I was. First off, I Googled the word stories. How high is a story?
Yeah.
There is no clear answer.
right,
A lot of people will build the first floor, maybe 20-foot high ceilings.
Right.
To have a marvelous entranceway, and the next ones might be 12 feet, because you got the thickness of the floor and that type of thing. So, you know, I think 90 feet sounds less than 100 feet.
okay.
When it goes to town meeting, I think it's just 100 feet sounds, oh, what are we doing, 10 stories? You know, I think we,
You can also do a combination of the two. 7 stories not to exceed 100 feet.
I think
Okay. I mean,
you
the
could-
village,
Yeah.
the
Or-
center village does both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can do a
they do.
combination of both. I think ultimately, the fire department's gonna
I think
have
it's a fire
significantly
department.
They're the ones
decide
that are
this.
making a call
Well,
here.
the fire department, here's the answer from the fire department, because I had a chance to talk to the chief. He's got a 100-foot ladder. A 100-foot ladder doesn't mean a 100-foot building. A 100-foot ladder, you gotta do your trigonometry, but he's servicing probably 60 feet. Now, it gets deeper than that. And I know we're on TV. There's an issue with even using the 100-foot ladder because we don't have personnel many times. So there's,
Why don't
it's
we,
an equipment and a personnel
why don't we
issue.
table the height story until fire department responds to your
Yeah.
question?
okay, but I do like your
Yeah.
comment
Yeah,
about. seven
and then
stories
we'll figure out how to write the zoning based upon what fire department
Well, I
recommends.
put in 7 stories and 90 feet now, and then we'll see what the chief says.
And then what the chief will tell you too is, if you go up beyond his ladder, he needs X number of minutes for every story beyond that.
Right.
They have a rule of thumb of so many minutes to get the fireman up to the next story.
Right.
For
Yeah,
internal.
I had the conversation with him too.
Okay,
Came by the house and we chatted.
anyway, enough on that.
He was complaining about my brush.
Okay.
I
I
put
feel
my
better.
picture in for fire department
I
funding.
feel better, I got my comments out.
all right, so Evan will get us a copy of this hashed out and,
And it will get to me this time.
I would like to make a comment about the meeting we had earlier today. I think the planning board needs to have a clear, what are we gonna accept? Whether it's a hearsay or, the building department doesn't seem to have an issue with getting something clear. My personal feeling is we should have something in the books, the regulations, because I know other towns, the hearsay, the she say, whether it was in this or that, we gotta have something we stick with. and
Well,
go with.
we, I don't know if we're a little bit pregnant here, but I thought we used to have a rule that anything presented at meetings had to be in by the previous Friday or
No,
something.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, we're coming into a meeting with everybody talking. I asked Evan about this, and we talked about, you said, well, you know, we don't go by the assessors all the time. You go to the building inspector, he goes by the assessors.
Yeah.
So
But
we gotta have some clear.
What didn't happen with that particular hearing tonight is The board did not ask for an official clarification or position from the building inspector.
Yeah.
You could have done that.
Got
Yeah.
it.
I assume when the building inspector does his review, and in fact, I don't assume, I know, if he has an issue, he's gonna let you know.
Yeah.
If he doesn't believe something that's in the application, he's gonna let you know. But,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the lesson learned moving forward is if there's a discrepancy, part of the task is to specifically ask whatever department head, you know, you feel as though is gonna help you make an official determination.
Yeah, perhaps
I
we should have
just,
done that.
I did not think it, I think we should have had
but-
more to rest our hat on.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of towns, I've been in the same situation. If it was done before 10 years, within the last 10 years, they don't care. It
Well,
does
that's
not-
the
it
rule
does
under
not
the Mass Zoning Act. If something's been in place for 10 years or more illegally, and the town has not taken enforcement action, it becomes basically grandfathered.
Yeah, it becomes a.
They didn't say that. They could
non-conforming.
have said that. That wasn't said as part of the testimony
Yeah.
that the applicant gave.
Yeah.
But you always have full staff at your disposal if you feel as though you need to make an official kind of circle back with them to clarify their comments. I agree. I mean, sometimes it's no concerns. I mean, you don't necessarily know what a department may or may not have considered.
Yeah, but Henry, are you talking about the stuff that, like the man brought in, the letters that were written, is that the type of?
No, I'm talking about, the town should have a basis. You either going by the assessors.
Oh, okay, I
going
got
by something. You
Okay.
gotta have something in stone that you're going by,
agree.
rather than
Okay,
just
I
taking and throwing stuff up in the air.
How accurate are the assessors, though?
According to
Well,
the building
not.
inspector, that's what he goes by.
Oh, I know that's what he goes by,
It's
but
Well,
not,
if-
but
if they're
it's not,
not-
but that's what's on record.
Yeah,
Right.
if they're not accurate, then there's a reason why they're not accurate. It may be that somebody built the stuff and never bothered with the permits, and it,
Less accurate to zoning.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be a lot of reasons it happens, but,
Well, after this year, they ought to be more accurate than ever.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I was thinking as I saw Sam Chase sitting there, you know, there were a couple of financial opportunities for the town that may have been missed because of the
It's awful,
record keeping.
it's awful hard if you can't get in the building because
Yeah.
his tenants not, you know, and they've been there for 10 years,
Yeah.
15 years. They just, you know, they go in there and there's a room, you know.
Who knows what they do in
You
there?
know, it's hard to get into buildings. You know, over the years, things change.
All right, well,
I
do I have a
move
motion? What?
to adjourn, of
Adjourn?
course.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now the lights can shut off.
Blueberries, I got a box,
All
I
right.
got a box at home.
Is anybody gonna get a bite to eat?